Hello, everyone, and welcome to episode 199 and a half of At Odds with Wrestling. Joe and Adam here. Hello, Adam. How are you?
I'm doing fine. Yes, 199.5. What everybody does every once in a while. They do those 0.5 episodes. Just kind of extra content for our listeners, if you will.
Right. Or if you look down the road and see, like, issue 900 of your comic book you could get it to line up with an anniversary by just numbering some of the titles, like 26.BEY and 28.BEY, just to kind of keep moving that anniversary thing down to that big number down to an anniversary,
Yeah, I've always said before that we need to relaunch with a shiny new number one, but then go back to legacy numbers when we get closer to an anniversary. Like, if we start off with episode 1 of, like, the new At Odds next week, then when we eventually get to episode 300, we switch back to the legacy numbers for a couple weeks. It'll be very obvious to follow and easy.
Right, like some of the other podcast friends that we have that, like, they do seasons.
Yeah.
Sometimes they take a break. So, like, okay, you took like a break of like a week or two. Okay. Or sometimes it's just like, oh, it's a new season because we're changing what our topic is. And I'm like, okay, all right. It's just like the only reason things are numbered is so you can keep track of them,
Yeah, or if you want to go back to the very beginning and catch up, kind of start at episode 1 of At Odds, and binge it over a weekend.
Right. I saw someone lamenting, there's a podcast called Knowledge Fight, and they're like, I was a little leery about jumping into a podcast starting with episode 704, but goddamn, wouldn't you know, it was a good episode, so I'm in,
Yeah.
I feel as though we, like, don't do a lot of self-referential stuff. They're kind of like, day and date, like we might make jokes or whatever it is, but a lot of times these are jokes that if you follow us either on social media or whatever, or are into the same things that we are, like the little corners of the wrestling universe that we are, that you're going to get any sort of inside remarks that we might make,
Yeah, I think it's one of those, you can jump in at any point, but if you've been around for a while, you have more appreciation because you understand I don't want to say the bits, Joe, but the bits.
Yeah, all right, it's bits, whatever.
I know that you don't like bits, as we've heard many times before, but sometimes they sneak in when you don't realize it.
No.
So subtly.
I don't like bits. Anyway.
Yeah.
So, hey, let's get into the show again. As Adam said, as this is 199 and a half, it's not going to be a half episode. But I think we could lean this one out at under 2.5 hours. How about that? I'm calling my shot.
Oh, God, we're fucked. All right.
All right.
And now, At Odds with Wrestling presents This Day in Wrestling History.
It's always a busy day in this day in wrestling history, Adam.
All right.
I love when things line up, stack up, whatever. So this day, wrestling history, 1990. Saturday night's main event aired, and this was the lead up to SummerSlam 1990. This was the first televised match of Kerry Von Erich as the Texas Tornado, as they had not yet announced him as the replacement in the Intercontinental title match at SummerSlam.
Okay.
If Demolition were teasing being heels, this is officially their full heel turn. As they defeated the Rockers, the aforementioned Mr. Perfect has a rematch with Tito Santana, who he had defeated in the finals to crown the new Intercontinental Champion. And the main event of this Saturday night's main event is the Ultimate Warrior beating Rick Rude, albeit by disqualification, which, again, doesn't do a great job of selling their rematch at the pay-per-view in a steel cage.
Yeah, I'm looking at this card, and I'm trying to wonder if this is something that I saw at the time, because this is in the infancy of my wrestling watching, but I don't think I watched this live, so this is kind of fuzzy.
One thing, hopefully, is not fuzzy, would be 1995, ECW debuted at the Orange County Fairgrounds in Middletown, New York. Some of this aired on TV. A lot of it you would probably remember where it's like really weird, like it's a really very blue ring and it's outside.
Yep. Okay.
Okay. One of the matches, which was the Steiner's debut in ECW, taking on Dudley in one of his last matches, and the Vampire Warrior. There's a Raven and Richards versus the Pitbulls match that made it onto TV in full. There's a Too Cold Scorpio versus Mikey Whipwreck match that made it onto TV in full. However, like this is not a show that made it like to a full VHS release. A couple of these matches, like I said, were on like either DVD sets or Extreme Warfare Volume whatevers.
Okay. Yeah. Again, nothing jumping out at me as far as like super memorable, but you know.
So also on this day, we have our head-to-head with Nitro versus Raw in 1997. Nitro from Charleston, West Virginia. Alex Wright beats Chris Jericho for the Juicerweight title.
Okay.
And they are setting up, and we'll get into it next week, obviously. They're setting up for next week for the 100th episode of Monday Nitro. Ahead of Road Wild, Lex Luger is going to take on Hulk Hogan. Luger comes out and cuts a promo saying that the WCW Championship Committee says that you have to defend your title once every 30 days. And at this point, Hulk Hogan had not defended the title since February.
No.
Also, on this hyping up, J.J. Dillon comes out and says next week, he's going to get Sting, and he's going to offer him a match. Finally. And this is one of those memorable moments, I would say, in wrestling history where... So they're setting up a bunch of stuff for next week, the 100th episode. I don't want to get into the stuff about that now. We'll get into that stuff next week, right?
Yeah, obviously, if we're going to cover it in a week, there's no sense going right now, but... What about WWE? What they got going?
All right, so this is the Go Home Raw for SummerSlam 1997.
All right.
And, you know, we talk about, like, everything kind of sort of seems to be lining up, but maybe not quite so much yet, because the main event of this episode of Raw, again, going into SummerSlam, the Patriot beats Bret Hart clean on TV.
As he should.
And this was also the episode of Monday Night Raw, which was the debut of the Truth Commission.
Who can forget? All right.
Now, Adam, can you name the members of the original Truth Commission?
It had Cyrus in it, right?
No, he wasn't in the original version.
Okay. Did it have the Kurgan?
Yes, but his name wasn't Kurgan yet.
Okay. I'm out after that. Is one of them named Recon?
Okay, you had Sniper and Recon.
Okay.
You had Kurgan was the interrogator.
Okay, yep, that I get.
And then you had the Commandant, who was an actor that Brett had met while filming that Aladdin made-for-TV movie.
All right.
And used his sway to get him a job in the World Wrestling Entertainment.
Typical cronyism from Brett. Go ahead.
Yeah, listen, you know, sometimes, you know, they're not all winners. So about a week later or so, they add Mantar under a mask. And I forget what Mantar's name was under the mask. And then he's replaced by the Jackal, Don Callis, Cyrus, whatever. And then shortly thereafter, the Commandant's gone. The Truth Commission is more or less broken up. And then it's just Cyrus, the Jackal, with Kurgan.
Now, and again, I apologize for not knowing because my memory is very fuzzy. Did the Truth Commission spin into the oddities, or did it just happen to be a lot of the same like people?
No,
some of the same people.
So Sniper and Recon end up becoming a tag team that's almost exclusively on Shotgun Saturday Night, named Apocalypse. That's the name of their tag team, and their names are like Poirier and something else.
All right.
And then with the Jackal, so he has Kurgan, and Kurgan's doing whatever it is that he's doing. And then that's when Jackal starts adding more and more quote unquote freaks to the group. That's when like Golga shows up and Giant Silva shows up. And then it's like he has like this group of, human oddities, right?
Yeah.
Then they add Luna Vachon, and then shortly after that, Cyrus is gone from World Wrestling Entertainment. So they have Sable come out and tell them that they're all beautiful on the inside. And then that's when they become dancing baby faces.
Yeah, then now together forever or whatever.
Right, that whole trajectory from their debut here at this Raw to like next SummerSlam. That's how long all of that takes.
Long-term storytelling, pal.
That's right. That was the plan all along. From the Truth Commission debuting here, they had it mapped out that they're going to become dancing baby faces by next year's SummerSlam.
That's why you got to let it play out.
That's right. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
No, I said, all right. Fair enough.
So also on this day in wrestling history, and again, we don't do, this recent for wrestling history because it was only a year ago, but a year ago, on AEW TV, Chris Jericho took on Nick Gage.
I guess the real Deathmatch King couldn't get booked. They couldn't afford him, so they had to go with a bargain basement, watered down version of Nick Gage.
Well, again, you say that, but this is like, 4 days off of the Nick Gage Broski match?
Yeah, it was very close.
Yeah, I think the Bros. So if, today's the 28th. I think that match happened like the 24th, maybe. But yeah, so it's just a crazy thing. And if you remember, Broski was in AEW, was a Cody favor hire, and Broski always brag about he had 2 matches and 5 shirts or whatever it was,
and a pay-per-view payday.
Sure.
But yeah, I remember that was when AEW, I guess, that wasn't Pandemic. That was like right after. They were doing shows in front of people, right?
Yeah, this was in front of a live crowd. Yeah.
Because they were like bringing in like Juventud and stuff like that for the labors of Jericho.
Right.
Okay. Poor Nick Gage. I hope he's doing well.
You know what? Jordan Oliver posted a video the other day of him helping Nick Gage go through rehab. So he's starting to look better. Okay.
Fair enough.
He doesn't look like me. He looks like me like 11 years ago.
I'm not sure if that's a compliment or not.
It's a lateral move, I guess.
Yeah. All right.
But I'm hoping Nikki gets healthy and stays healthy. He's a good dude,
Yeah. All right.
Your Deathmatch King bullshit.
Well, hey, one of them won that match. The other one went home a loser, and the loser wasn't Broski.
Yeah, more about Broski a little bit later on, maybe.
Oh, all right. I'm listening.
Yeah. All right. Hey, Adam, what do you want to talk about that happened in wrestling in the last 7 days?
Okay. Well, I have totally detailed notes, Joe, that definitely didn't get deleted, and I definitely didn't discover this minutes before we went on the air. So I know that one of the things I was going to talk about, and we are a little late to the game, some of the other shows in the network scooped and booped us, but I would be remiss if we didn't talk about some of the announced changes in the WWE. Notably the fact that your boy Triple H is now not only the executive in charge of talent relations, but is also supposedly booking all of Raw and SmackDown. And the fact that maybe your other boy, Kevin Dunn, might be on his way out. So I know that a lot of people were like tweeting like, oh, this is going to put AEW out of business. You're going to have Paul booking, like, tune into Raw. It's going to be a completely different show. And I did tune into Raw, and it wasn't a different show. And I did watch SmackDown, or not SmackDown, I'm sorry, NXT. And that was not a different show. But, I mean, I don't want to say that this gives me any kind of optimism to make WWE more watchable. But I think there are certain things that maybe won't happen going forward. Like when people go from NXT to WWE's main roster, they probably won't get silly new rebrands going forward. Like, I'm sure that's something that we can say maybe won't happen. But I just kind of want to get your take on like what are some of the short-term changes, if any, that you might see and what might change down the road. And this is all assuming that like Vince McMahon isn't puppeting stuff from the rafters and this isn't like a shadow regime. But, you know, obviously there's things that you could be optimistic about and there's things you could be pessimistic about. And I want to get your take.
Well, you know, obviously Vince stepping down when the tweet came out Friday afternoon, I swear to God, I grabbed it and I sent it to a bunch of people and I'm like, I think Vince's account was hacked. And then I saw other people. It's like, yeah, usually any Vince tweet comes from like a Hootsuite or whatever it is, you know, because I know you're going to be surprised by this. Vince doesn't run his social media.
What?
Right.
All right.
And then like maybe like 20 minutes later, the press release comes out like officially announcing that Vince is out and Stephanie and Nick Khan are going to be co-CEOs. They actually removed Vince from the website, like the corporate website hierarchy. And then it was that following Monday. So it all started out like Friday morning. It was announced that Triple H was head of talent relations, which was the job that Johnny Ace was taken out of and my sweet Brucey was put into. So they put Triple H into that. And now Brucey goes back to whatever his job was. Well, again, less said about that, the better. And then it was Monday morning where they announced that Triple H is now head of creative. Now, it's going to take a long time for Triple H and World Wrestling Entertainment to get things straightened out. This isn't going to be something that happens overnight where all of a sudden the product is good and the storylines make sense or are compelling or we care, right?
Yep.
It's not going to be from a lack of trying, but you have to take into consideration that Vince is still going to be looming over. He's still like the top shareholder of the company, so he's still going to have some sort of sway over his daughter and his son-in-law. And his son-in-law, who is going to be running creative of, I guess, NXT, because if you remember a couple of weeks ago, he talked about, I'm back, everybody, and Raw, and SmackDown, and the pay-per-views, and I guess Level Up as well, right?
Oh, thank God, Level Up.
And Main Event. So Triple H, who couldn't handle the pressure of moving NXT from 1 hour to 2 hours, is now going to be responsible for 7 hours of original programming a week, if you don't include Level Up and Main Event, and I don't. That seems like a lot of work. One, for someone who, again, cracked into the pressure of moving the developmental show from 1 hour to 2 hours, and someone who just came off a massive heart attack and was stepping away from his responsibilities at World Wrestling Entertainment due to his health, right? Something seems up. There's a lot of rumor and speculation going around that maybe the heart attack was a lie, and maybe Triple H and or Stephanie and or Nick Khan were the ones that leaked out this information about Vince to have all these stories come out literally on a bi-weekly basis. Every Friday, something new comes out further burying Vince. Like just even the other day, it didn't happen on Friday, but that WWE had to come out and say, we have to readjust our earnings because we found $14 million that's unaccounted for, which just happens to be the $14 million that was discussed in the previous thing of Vince paying people off.
Yeah.
There's a lot that they have to do to get things straightened out, you know, and I know a lot of people make jokes about it. I even made a joke that Raw was going to open up with Triple H calling MJF to see if he can come over and play. People pulling up an interview from Triple H from like 7 years ago where he was saying the worst thing that happened to Raw was going to 3 hours. If I could move it back to 2 hours, I would. And people are like, oh, that means Raw's going back to 2 hours. If only it was that easy, just to snap their fingers and go back. And you had made the joke and said, my buddy Kevin Dunn. He's the last piece of the puzzle. nothing is really going to change in their televised wrestling product until Kevin Dunn is out.
Would you say that nothing will change, like, creatively or just presentation-wise? Because I didn't know that he had his fingers in creative.
He was Vince's right-hand man. There were stories coming out this week. I don't know if you saw the Freddie Prinze Jr. one, where Freddie Prinze Jr. was part of creative for a while, and on his podcast just this week, he had said, that he and the writers and so on and so forth would come up with a storyline for a woman, and they would go and pitch it to Vince and Kevin Dunn and the group for like 20 minutes and lay everything out, and Kevin Dunn would say, I don't find her attractive, and Vince would just shoot the whole idea down. So, again, you could look at the time that Freddie Prinze Jr. was there and try to put the puzzles together of who it may or may not have been. But other than just the bad camera edits, Kevin Dunn has a lot to say over what you saw on that television program creatively. Because, not unlike Bruce, he was just like right at the seat at Vince. And so are they going to make some creative changes? They already have. And we'll talk about that when we get into Does Joe Know the Card? But you're not going to see, like, they have to do it gradually. They just can't do it like a Band-Aid being ripped off. It's going to be too jarring for these people that have watched a horrible Vince put together program for the last 20 plus years. And then with actual camera movements that don't look like you're a jittery Eskimo fireman.
I think a lot of people wanted or expected Raw to open up and it being like, remember the episode of WCW where Bischoff and Russo took over and they're like, we're just stripping all the titles. We're starting from scratch. And like people all of a sudden had different gimmicks and different storylines and, something like that. They expected a jarring change, like a reboot, a zero issue, if you will. And it, like you said, it takes a long time to steer a ship that big in a different direction.
Exactly.
What would, like I mentioned, like that, if somebody gets the call up from NXT or they won't get a silly name change and maybe they won't get buried, under the Triple H thing. Because obviously there was a lot of people who were super over in NXT and then got to the main roster and Vince or Kevin Dunn was like, I don't get it. And they were immediately rebranded or buried or whatever. I think that those are the most immediate changes. But what would you think is something that you can expect to see in the short term, if anything?
A lot of people that were considered Triple H people being rehired, that were let go during many of the mass firings, and people that are still with the company that may be considered a Kevin Dunn or a Johnny Ace person being let go.
Like behind the scenes or like talent-wise?
Across the board.
Okay. All right, looking forward to that. It's always
It'll be
nice.
Interesting, you know?
Yeah. I mean, I can't speak for you, but like, I don't like anything like Vince McMahon and Kevin Dunn and all that shit. Like, good riddance. And if we can make WWE even 10% more watchable, I'd be happy. I think they need to dedicate. I was gonna say they need to dedicate an entire hour of Raw to like the maximum models. That'll help with the show.
Well, before we get into one of the things I wanted to talk about, so one of the big, I guess, changes that they've already made is they announced that they are doing a head-to-head NXT takeover against All Out this year.
Okay. I mean,
which they haven't done in like 2 years.
Yeah.
So, that's a clear sign that this is the first time that we're doing it, and we're doing it on Peacock, of course, and we're doing it head-to-head with All Out,
Yeah.
That's
how are we going to decide what to watch, Joe?
I'll figure it out. I don't know how I will, but I'm sure I'll be able to figure it out,
We're going to wrestle the remote control away from DJ at his house and be like, no, we're watching TakeOver. Turn off this AEW pay-per-view, Patooey.
Mm-hmm. Well, I was gonna, I don't usually start what we wanted to talk about in the last 7 days. That's usually your deal. But if we were gonna, I was gonna be like, well, the news came out on Friday. The rumors were swirling. They were missing from TV. There was a lot of talk about them maybe rubbing people the wrong way backstage. But Max Dupree might be out of Maxim male models.
Uh-oh.
So last week on SmackDown, they announced that he was going to be debuting his sister, Maxine Dupree.
Yeah.
And then on this past episode of SmackDown, Maxine was there, no Max. If you go over to the MaximumMaleModels.com website, like I do on a daily basis, Max's picture is still on there alongside Maxine, but those Maximum Male Model shirts have been pulled off WWEshop.com.
Oh, shit.
Saturday afternoon, Max Dupree tweets out, "Hey, what did I miss?" So the rumors going around was that was one of the things that Vince had done, like one of the last things that Vince did. He didn't like Max Dupree or whatever it was. I was making the jokes that maybe he was just preparing for his new gimmick of being an evil masseuse and rubbing people the wrong way. But with this regime change, obviously he was hired as a Triple H guy. I wouldn't be surprised if they just put him back down in NXT as LA Knight again and just like act like that never happened.
Huh. Now, I don't know. Like, are we biased that like the Max Dupree thing was better than LA Knight? Like, it's maybe like obviously Vince doesn't want anybody below a certain height to wrestle, so that's how he became a mouthpiece. But you know, keep him on the main roster as Max Dupree and have him be like a trios guy, you know, like he can tag with them, New Day style, you know, and plus you got Maxine. Like, I don't get, this is one thing that maybe just for us, we could be the only ones that find this amusing, but this seems like you're spiting him, you know, just to be, because it's a Vince move, you know?
Right. Did I work myself into a shoot of my fandom of LA Knight / Max Dupree? Absolutely. Was I a little sad that he wasn't included in the toy release at San Diego last week? Maybe a little. But at this point, you know, he's not fired. You know, and I liked the Maximum Male Models thing, and it was funny. There's a very good chance they could just like keep him off TV for like a week or two and then just bring him back once Vince like dies or whatever.
Yeah, and I obviously this is a take from Ed from Pod Van Dam, but I really hope Vince goes and paternos himself at this point.
Mm-hmm. I was talking to DJ actually about this. When you talk about people that get that old, and now granted, a lot of the people that we were discussing are rock and roll drug types. Your Lemmy from Motorhead, your Keith Richards from the Rolling Stones, where Lemmy's doctors told him that he needs to cut down on the Jack Daniels and speed because he was diagnosed with cancer, and he did, and then he almost immediately died because he was doing Jack Daniels and speed 3 to 4 times a day for 40 years, and his body got accustomed to not being able to run on the fuel that is Jack Daniels and speed.
Yeah.
Keith Richards, on the other hand, says, "I don't care what doctors tell me. I know what I need to take to stay alive. And that is copious amounts of cocaine." So the minute someone makes Keith Richards stop doing cocaine is the minute he dies.
Yeah.
And Vince's drug was professional wrestling. Vince has no hobbies. Vince has no outside interests. And that was the thing that motivated him. And that was the thing that kept him going. You know, and maybe they've set him up with like Total Extreme Warfare on his computer or something so that at least he has something to book. But they say that when you're that old, and I forget who else it was talking about this, where, you know, somebody was saying that, like, they have old neighbors who were literally out there mowing their lawn every day. And I actually had an old neighbor that was like that. And he was, whether the lawn needed or not, he was out there mowing the lawn every day, tending to the garden and everything else like that. And he had gotten an infection, and I'm sure the infection was part of it. But when he got the infection, he couldn't do his yard work every day. And he died shortly after, right?
Yeah.
It's just that when you get that old, you have that routine, that thing that keeps you going. And Vince has had this thing that's kept him going for almost 40 years now. And now he doesn't have it anymore.
Yeah.
So, you know, who is going to make it to see 2023, Adam? Vince McMahon or Ric Flair?
Ooh. Well, considering the fact that probably tomorrow Ric Flair is going to die, I'm going to say neither makes it to 2023, but Vince outlasts Rick.
You think so?
I think so. Because it's very much possible that Ric Flair dies, if not in the ring, shortly thereafter due to complications from that match.
Yeah.
Like he might not drop dead in the ring, but he might pull like an Ultimate Warrior where he makes an appearance on Raw, and then like a day or two later, or like later on that night, his little heart could explode. So I don't think either makes it 2023, but my money's on Vince because I mean I was about to say evil usually lasts, and they're both pretty much scumbags, but
right.
Yeah, it's tough, but I think Vince lives longer.
I would have to agree, and I was gonna move the goalposts a little bit and say, okay, Adam, who makes it to Halloween? Neither, both, one or the other.
I'll say Vince makes it to Halloween. Ric Flair don't.
You know what? I'm in agreement with that.
Yeah, because I mean,
we'll revisit this in 3 months.
Yeah. Because I mean, Vince McMahon, as you said, and many people have said, I mean, you could take away whatever title you want. He's still got his fingers in the company, and until like something happens where like he's charged for taking company funds, because that's not legal to do these hush things. Something that gets him permanently separated from any operations of the WWE. That's when the clock can start ticking on his him not living. But as of right now, he's still working behind the scenes in some capacity.
Yeah, I could see like him just, and that's the other thing. If I didn't mention in all my rambling of stuff before, everything that I say about Triple H with the failure of taking NXT from 1 hour to 2 hours, he's been in that machine under Vince in some way, shape, or form for the past like 15 to 20 years. So the only way that he knows how to book and run a company is the way that Vince booked and ran a company. So even if Vince doesn't have a direct influence, like his teachings are going to be felt through Triple H, through Stephanie. That's why I'm saying Nick Khan being there is going to help. Kevin Dunn getting out of there is going to be another catalyst. That's going to be where you're going to see like some real change happening.
Yeah. All right. Cool. All right, my turn.
Yeah.
All right. I had a bunch of detailed notes, and those are already gone. So all I have written down here is that I don't want to say we. I finally got what I wanted, something that I've been complaining about for a while, and that's the fact that AEW announced that they were going to bring the trios titles that we all kind of knew were coming any day now. And obviously a lot of people were tweeting, well, I guess Kenny Omega's cleared to come back, because you said that these titles were not going to debut until we were going to get Kenny Omega and the Bucks as a trios. But that notwithstanding, I'm happy to see the trios belts, because there's a lot of great stables and great trios that don't get their due, whether it be the Best Friends or Dark Order or House of Black or whatever. There's a lot of great trios that can benefit from having these belts, and I have in the past been like, oh, there's too many belts. I've changed my mind. There's not enough belts. Give me more, and I'm happy to see the trios have been announced. And I think they said that like there's a tournament upcoming, or it's gonna be crowned at All Out or whatever, but I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah, 100%. It's cool that the trio titles were there. I like the look of them. They look very WCW-esque.
Yep.
And we have no idea how the tournament is going to work out or play out and so forth. But AEW has established so many trios, and they started reestablishing some old ones. And it'll be interesting to see how everything ends up shaking out. Not to say that I wasn't interested to see what was going to happen with it, but now that the wheel has finally started to move, I could actually say like, okay, now the intrigue and the everything else can begin,
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, you got the Undisputed Eras in there, and, the Bucks and Omega, if that's how they choose to go. There's a lot of interesting combinations, too, that you can throw together, as well.
Right.
All right. Yeah, like I said, not much to talk about there, but I just wanted to bring it up since it was something that I've been clamoring for a while. Also, Joe, just throw in here real quick, Aaron Judge just hit a walk-off home run to win the game for the Yankees, but that's besides the point.
I don't know who that is.
We'll go into great detail later.
So I got another AEW thing to talk about from Dynamite this past week.
All right.
I'm not going to say that it was ECW-esque where one thing flowed into another, because it didn't have that same feel of chaoticness to it. But that the first hour of TV this week was unbelievable. But most notably, everything from the Ricky Starks hype video to the match with Danhausen, the second challenge, Hook coming out, which we all knew was going to happen. Hook beats Ricky Starks to win the FTW title. Then Ricky cuts like the babyface promo of all babyface promos, and Hobbs turns on him.
Damn it, Joe,
what a wild like 20 minutes of TV that was.
Yeah, this was the thing that I was telling you before we went on the air that I had in my notes and I couldn't remember what it was when it got deleted. Fuck. Yeah, this was all from start to finish great television. Very predictable up to the Hobbs turn, but like that didn't make it less enjoyable because sometimes, you can predict what's going to happen because it's the thing you want to see and the thing that should happen, and all of this followed that script. But that Starks promo was fantastic. He is, even in the loss of the title, and it's a bullshit made up title, whatever. But even losing the FTW,
it's an outlaw title that's not recognized, and it's for real fighters, and
even in losing that title, like he lost nothing, from a credibility standpoint. And now you have Hobbs turning on him. So the rocket ship of just babyface stardom, like him and the Acclaimed, obviously not on the same level, but just two types of heels that just people wanted to cheer, and you're giving them what they want by turning them babyface. I loved all of that. Now you can have Hook go on a little bit of a hot Goldberg streak of just tearing through people as the FTW champion. Also, I don't think Danhausen loses anything because I saw a lot of people complaining, like, how could you have Danhausen, lose all the time? Like, Danhausen don't need to win. Danhausen could just do promos backstage for like the next 2 years and people will love him. But I loved everything about this segment. I agree with you completely.
Yep.
Great stuff. Yeah. That was a really good AEW. Trying to think, you had the Mox versus Roosh to open things up, and then
and that was a really killer match. Like I said, that first hour was just like hot stuff, man.
Yeah, and then Danielson versus Garcia in the main event. I mean, you take out Jake Hagar, and that was just a 5-star match,
Yeah, so Danielson's one of my top 5 favorites of all time. We talk about people gaining or losing from victories or losses. Obviously you don't want to have Danielson lose all the time, but when you do have Danielson lose, I don't think he loses any of his mystique or aura. He's coming out to the ring and it says like his record, and his record is like whatever and 4. And I'm like, I could name all 4 of those losses. And he's only been in the company for a little under a year. And like, that's how important those losses are because Danielson means that much. And, whatever the kabuki-ish a little bit at the end, I think Daniel Garcia gained so much from that victory over Danielson. And, people were like, oh, is he really hurt? He shouldn't have taken that DDT on the floor and everything else like that. The pile driver. And listen, if there's anyone that you're going to trust that knows his body, especially at this point, especially after taking 6 weeks off or whatever it was for concussion stuff, it's Danielson. And I trust him with his body and his neck and his head more than me sitting at home speculating and postulating on any of this stuff. Now, I will say, with there being the finals of the trios tournament at the pay-per-view and some of the matches that it appears are being set up, I would love for there to be one more Eddie versus Jericho match just to kind of wrap up the bow on that. But it looks like they might be doing Eddie and Sammy Guevara at the pay-per-view. And it looks like they might be doing Danielson and Jake Hager at the pay-per-view.
Yeah. And when we saw, Moxley was in the ring, after his match and Jericho came out with the Jericho Appreciation Society, I was like, oh man, are they moving Jericho away from Eddie completely? And Eddie's just going to eat that loss and they're going to not have a rubber match. I was kind of disappointed in that.
But we'll see. We're still 5 weeks out, whatever it is, from All Out. And I think people like Tony and the presser even said that just with the way that things kind of hashed out last year, you didn't know the full card of All Out until almost like 2 weeks before the pay-per-view. Yeah. Just because they had to hold off on the Punk stuff and they had to hold off on when they could debut Danielson and Adam Cole and all that sort of stuff. AEW is kind of, in a very short amount of time, I think has built up a lot of trust with a lot of the fandom. And I'm not going to sit here and say it's 5 weeks out, we don't know a match in the pay-per-view. If I'm smart enough and they're doing a good enough job, I should be able to tell where things are going.
Yeah. And you don't want, there's no chance that we're going to be like, well, I'm not sure I'm going to watch the pay-per-view. I need to see some matches announced.
Yeah.
Like, I'm going to watch it because I'm sure whatever gets announced, I'm sure there's going to be at least a handful that I'm like, oh, God, I need to see these matches.
Exactly.
Yeah. All right, Joe, do you have any more talking points?
No, I think that's it.
All right. I'm not sure if you're aware, but there's a pay-per-view this weekend.
It's Sami Zayn's kicking down to the ring. It's Kofi Kingston doing his thing. Ruby
Soho.
on the show.
Bryan Danielson.
No. Is it the big dog's yard? Let's find out. Does Joe know the card?
That's right, Joe. WWE SummerSlam is this Saturday, and according to Wikipedia, the most trusted source of all wrestling news and information, there are 8 announced matches, none of which are on the pre-show. Joe, do you know the card?
Maybe. And I thought you were going to try to pull a fast one on me and have me name the matches that are on the Ric Flair's last match show.
Oh, God, no. I don't care that much about that show.
Technically on pay-per-view as well.
Yeah, I'm sure a lot of people will be paying for that.
Right. Okay. So we have Brock Lesnar versus Roman Reigns.
What's the step?
The titles are on the line. Last man standing.
That is correct.
Okay. We have Becky Lynch versus Bianca Belair.
Yep.
We have Liv Morgan taking on Ronda Rousey.
That is 3.
As some would say, lousy Ronda Rousey. For the unified tag titles, some team versus some team with Double J as the special guest referee. No, I kid. It's the Usos and the Street Profits. I know what the real thing is, right?
Yeah. All right.
So this is where things get a little shaky, only because they've done such a poor job of making people care about this pay-per-view. Is Seth Rollins versus Riddle still on the Wikipedia version?
No, because Seth Rollins is like sending out kayfabe tweets about being like, I really wish I could have been there for you people. Like, no, he's currently not on the show.
Okay. We'll come back to that. I have no idea what the other matches on the card are.
Oh, man.
Oh, no, wait. Miz versus the Paul boy.
Yep, Logan Paul.
Logan Paul. I don't know. I know there's 2 of them.
Yeah.
Miz versus Logan Paul. So that's 2 more matches? 3 more matches?
3 more.
All
right, there's another one that's got a celebrity in it. Celebrity-ish. Adjacent.
Oh, Pat McAfee versus Happy Corbin.
That's correct.
Ugh.
You have a singles match for a title left.
Is there a title that matters in the World Wrestling? Oh, Austin Theory versus Bob Lashley.
Yep. And then you have a no disqualification tag team match.
Oh, boy.
I'll give you half of it if you need it.
Is it Nikki and Doudrop?
No, it is men.
Okay, then I have no clue.
The Mysterios versus Judgment Day, Damian Priest and Finn Balor.
Ugh. Holy shit, what a bad pay-per-view this is. Okay. So I want to talk about the Seth Rollins and Matt Riddle match, right?
Okay.
So on the bump, they did a thing where they announced that Matt Riddle had some sort of injury and had to be pulled out of the match. Okay.
Yeah.
Everyone's like, can't figure out when he got injured. There was like nothing that happened live where like medical went out to check on him. So like, what's going on here, right? And then there's the Seth tweet that you mentioned that he's like, oh, this breaks my 6 year in a row streak of being on SummerSlam, and I'm sorry I let you fans down, like babyface, 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 right?
Yeah.
Which is odd as well. And then if you saw Triple H quote tweeted him and said, I hear you.
No, I didn't see that.
Okay. Because there's speculation that Seth is going to have a match on SummerSlam. And Seth is going to have a match on SummerSlam against a previously released or fired talent. Or maybe somebody who didn't renew his contract. Now, granted, I may have been wrong about another prediction that I made. And we can get into that when we get into homework. But I think you're going to see Seth Rollins versus Johnny Gargano at SummerSlam this weekend.
Okay. I don't like that, but go on.
I don't like it either, but I'm just telling you. I have a feeling.
How is that going to affect his major bendies being released? That's what really matters.
Right. That's the true. One can only hope that whatever deals are allowed outside of, and then maybe Triple H will allow people to make outside deals for stuff like that. Or maybe, did you see the Cody interview where he said that he wished Broski came back to WWE?
I heard about it. I didn't actually hear the interview, but yeah. I think that just completely off topic, but like that would be one easy way to ingratiate yourself with the talent is to just be like, all right, all that bullshit where it's like you're not allowed to, maybe not outside bookings, that might be a little bit of a stretch, but like obviously go do your podcasts, sell your merch on Pro Wrestling Tees based on your old gimmick, that kind of stuff.
Or even extend across the aisle, like they have. Power Town had to pull the DiBiase figure because of DiBiase's Legends deal. There were a bunch of people that signed with either Zombie or Cella to do Legends to do figures, and then they ended up signing Legend deals, but their figures are so far down the road, we don't know what's going to happen with them. Like, obviously, let's not hire Broski back as a talent, but let's talk to Broski about doing major bendies for WWE guys.
Yeah.
And giving Broski a chunk of change and say, okay, obviously Mattel's not in the bendies line, Just Toys in the bendies line. You are. You're a toy company. Let's deal with you.
Yeah. Or just we get at the Royal Rumble once a year, you get maybe one or two surprise people. Like you had Mickie James in the Ladies Rumble last year, and there was speculation we might see Zack Ryder in there. Why wait until that one pay-per-view a year to have the anything can happen in the WWE? Earlier in this show, we talked about Nick Gage and Juventud popping up on Dynamite. Why not have, if Austin Theory is going to have an open challenge for his United States title, why not have the occasional indie person come in and just work a match, Yeah, I'm not saying it has to be Broski, but
if you remember at the height of the pandemic, they did a one-off where they brought Heath back.
Yeah.
For a one-off thing, but that was a nothing,
Yep.
I like that idea of kind of being because even Triple H, when he was still in power before his real heart attacks, he says, yeah, we want to open up those doors and work with other people. But he was just saying that they weren't actually ever going to do that. You said it. Why don't you do it?
Yep. Yeah. Allegedly, you have nothing in your way, and if you do, that's going to expose who's really running things,
Right.
But yeah, it's interesting to think about. But as far as the SummerSlam, the Summerfest goes, Brock versus Roman. I hope Roman retains.
Yeah, there's no reason for Brock to win.
Yeah, that's the only match I'm concerned.
Roman needs to keep that for as long as possible. I guess, what is it? The day after SummerSlam is 700 days? Something
like that, yeah.
Run it to Mania. If Brock is going to lose the belt, it should be at a WrestleMania.
Yeah. Yeah, and SummerSlam ain't what it used to be. It's not a marquee pay-per-view. Realistically, Mania is the only one,
This card on paper ain't a marquee card,
No,
They've done nothing to build up any of these matches. A good chunk of them are either rematches from the previous pay-per-view or even the previous year's WrestleMania.
Yeah. And this is I'm sure more matches, 3 more matches will get announced tomorrow. You know, who are we kidding? But like you look at it and there's just so many like top guys that aren't on this.
Mhm.
And it's SummerSlam. This isn't, you know, in your house. This isn't Backlash, you know? It's SummerSlam. You should have a fuck ton of announced matches with all of your guys in it, you know, because obviously you mentioned Seth Rollins isn't on here yet. You don't have AJ Styles. There's lots of them that I'm gonna forget, but
The New Day,
yeah, like the New Day. What an afterthought those
Kevin
guys.
Owens,
Yeah.
Sami Zayn. Like these
Sami
are all
Zayn.
people that are your big stars, and they don't even have a sniff on the pay-per-view.
Yeah. And like again, this is not. It would be fine if it was one of the regular in between tiny pay-per-views where you're like, okay, we just focus on some storyline here. But you know, Royal Rumble, WrestleMania, SummerSlam, Survivor Series, they should have everybody that's a top guy on there. You know,
Right.
use your star power. But whatever. What do I know? I'm not running the company.
Exactly.
Yeah. All right, Joe. What's next?
Homework time.
All right.
Homework. Homework. It's an obligation you owe your family and yourself. Homework. Homework. It's an obligation you owe your family and yourself.
All right, Joe. So I assigned AIW Absolution 15 this past weekend, which I watched live, but it is available to stream on Jerry's Internet Wrestling Emporium.
Right. I did not get a chance to watch it live for, I don't know what the hell. Oh, the Ring of Honor pay-per-view was going on, right? We didn't even talk about the Ring of Honor pay-per-view.
Oh, yeah. Congrats to Claudio there.
Yeah, so Claudio won the Ring of Honor World title, and the Briscoes versus FTR surprisingly was an awesome fucking match. You know, we talked about the one that they did at Supercard of Honor over Mania weekend, how good that match was. Go out of your way to see this match. It was unbelievable.
Yeah, I had to make the decision. I had to make the choice which I was going to watch live, and I guess I'm the bigger AIW fan on this podcast, so
Yeah.
I chose AIW.
That's true. So if you did not get a chance to watch the show, there's no reason not to, whether it be live or on the VOD, Jerry's Internet Wrestling Emporium, aka IndependentWrestling.tv. But if you want to follow along a little bit more closely, you can head over to our friend Kevin's website, maskedlibrary.com. He always does a write-up for any of the shows that we assign for homework.
Yeah, absolutely.
So obviously there's Absolution. This is their WrestleMania. So the show is a little longer than usual.
Yeah, and honestly, it didn't feel long. Now, I might be a homer on this, and I am usually the first person to complain if a show runs too long, but you take out the intermission and you take out the time that was lost to like setting up the ring for the main event. I think the rest of it flowed pretty quickly.
I'd be hard pressed to disagree with that. You know, everything was set up perfectly throughout the last couple of weeks or the last months or even since the beginning of the year to blow off here at this show. So let's kind of go over everything, and anything that you want to chime in with, you let me know, right?
Absolutely.
Show opens unannounced match of a 6-way scramble match. Gringo Loco, M-Dog 20, Tommy KD, Chase Oliver, Riley Rose, and the debuting Commander open things up. Commander had been getting some play over the last couple of weeks with some of the aerial antics that he was able to do, essentially doing like the rope walk unassisted, leaping from one set of the ropes to the other and doing a dive to the outside. Pretty goddamn amazing. Of course, he does it in this match. Chase Oliver wins. He's wearing a shirt that says Scramble God. And I might have mentioned this on the show before. I don't know if I have. And I'm not sure they would be the first ones to do it. But when I see the boss this weekend, I'm going to pitch to him doing a scramble title.
Okay, what would a scramble title is just something that has to be defended in a scramble match?
Yep.
Okay. Has that been done before?
It probably has been somewhere. If I was to guess, it was done like in Mexico or a Latin American country.
Okay.
But you could kind of say it's the first one in the United States. The only caveat to it would be that to win the title, you have to pin the champ. You just can't pin anyone in the match. It's a way to kind of keep things honest, that you're actually pinning the person who has the title, and it's also a way to have the champion lose a match but not lose the title.
Then okay, not to derail, like why would you pin anybody but the champion in that match then?
To win, to get the winner's share of the purse. So then the other thing is, like, let's say there's like a big crazy dive train, right?
Yeah.
And it's like boom, 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 and there's 3 guys on the outside that are laid out, and now you're in the ring with like one guy who's been beaten up a bunch. Am I going to go do a dive in a pile of guys, or am I going to get the win?
See, I see it as like, why would, like, I'm trying to put logic into this. Why would you ever, like, yes, you can get the win and get the winner's share of the purse and all the prestige that comes with, you know, you're getting their hand raised, but like, oh man, that champ is out there. I see it as a way that like the champion is at a supreme disadvantage because everybody in that scramble match wants to get the pin on that guy or girl. And it's a way to really put the heat on the champ, you know, but I like this idea.
But again, it's just a thought. It's an idea. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Right.
But yeah, so, great match. I liked it a lot.
Great match. Like, so that's the other thing. Like, no match, like every match on this card except for one was like right around like 11 to 14 minutes, and nothing like felt like it overstayed its welcome. Everything was exactly where it needed to be, you know?
Yeah. And I mean, I think maybe it might be my bloodlust coming through because I am a deathmatch ghoul, but like I wanted more of the main event, you know, but it was what it was. I liked it as it was, but we'll get to it, you know? All right, Joe, next up.
Go ahead.
I was just going to say we have Twan Tucker versus Matthew Justice with Bill Alfonso.
Yeah, so this was a good match. It was just 2 big dudes beating the hell out of each other. There was one thing that was real impressive, that like Justice came, like they were in the ring. Justice came with like a crossbody at the top rope, and Twan caught him into a power slam, which was like super impressive.
Yeah.
Twan got to kick out at one on Justice's finisher, and won the match with a power slam off the top rope through like a big pyramid of like doors and chairs and shit.
Yeah, and it was very surprising, but understandable that Twan gets the win on this, you know, and I listened to the card is going to change earlier today, and that was Justice being like, you know, hey, I want to make sure this guy's taken care of, and it definitely surprised me watching it live, but it's not one of those things where you're like, bullshit, you know, that shouldn't have happened. Like, you're like, oh, I was not expecting it, but I'm pleasantly surprised.
Exactly.
All right, next up, Wes Barkley versus the man with the greatest entrance in Absolution history, the Duke.
So I don't think they got a great job of catching it on the live feed of the VOD, but apparently he had the Affinity gems, not stones, gems, on the side of the throne as he came out.
I heard commentary say it, but I didn't. I was just too much in awe of the whole presentation. I didn't catch that detail.
Yes. I love the Duke so much, and it's not like, so if I was a fan, I would hate the Duke so much, right?
Yeah.
But because I know the Duke, I love all this stuff, right?
Well, see, I don't know the Duke either. You know, we follow each other on Twitter, but I don't think I've ever had a conversation with him. But like, I am a fan, and I'm eating this up.
Right.
You know?
And it's just that he doesn't have merch. He's not a cool heel where he wants to get over. He's a dick.
Yeah.
He wants you to hate him. And he does the most over the top, obnoxious things to get people to hate you. To hate him. And Wes is like super duper baby face. And you know, you have the build up, and I saw somebody tweeting maybe live during this. It's like, I don't like them talking so much about like records, right?
Uh-huh.
And I'm like, fuck that, man. Like, make these matches mean something. And if you act like, you know, obviously, like, the big thing was, like, Undertaker's record at WrestleMania, right? For the longest time. if AIW is like, man, we're treating Absolution as our WrestleMania, and we're like, this is their first time in Absolution, this is a bigger stage, this is a bigger deal, their record here is only 5-5. If they're victorious here and the Duke loses, then they're the top. You know what I mean? So I like that sort of aspect. And, you know, I'm not the only one to say this, but I think Wadsworth and Nathan Segura are unbelievable on commentary on AIW and have added so much to the presentation of these shows. And it's been offered to me to do commentary at the show this weekend. And I really wanna, because I like doing commentary, but I'm going into it knowing I'm not going to be able to touch what Wadsworth and Nathan Segura do. Like, I'm not even going to come close to the presentation that they've added to AIW, you know, over the last year of doing shows together.
Yeah. Great commentary. Just want to take this one at a time here. I agree. Segura and Wadsworth really good on commentary. I liked, I think Pod Van Dam said it, that, you know, having Segura on there gives it the air of legitimacy that you have this sports guy, you know, a guy who is like a professional sports broadcaster from the fake or the fake sports world, you know, coming in and just kind of giving it the rub. You definitely have to do at least a match because that's what the people want to see. But as far as the records and like keeping score and everything, I agree. Absolution is presented as AIW's WrestleMania, and I think paying respect to the history is important. I like the fact that when later on Lewis Linden comes out and it's mentioned that, hey, like this is a guy who has like X amount of consecutive appearances at Absolution. And, you know, obviously with the Duke having the most, you know, appearances or wins or any of that stuff, I liked hearing that all on commentary. I don't feel like it was an info dump. It was all compelling and it made sense why certain people were doing what they were doing, you know?
Exactly.
All right, but yeah, the Duke. Oh, I'm sorry. I was just gonna say the Duke gets a surprising win here.
Yes, I don't think it was a surprising win. They've been like the last couple months. They've been building Duke up as, if not the number one, the number two heel in the company, and you got to have him get some wins if he's going to be that top of a heel. You know?
Yeah, I mean, I think maybe was it not Gauntlet for the gold, but what was the big like
Cibernetico de Mayo.
Yeah, like where he was kind of presented as a top guy in that, and that was kind of surprising, you know, at the time.
Right.
All right, so next up we have Katie Arquette versus Jocelyn Navarro in a 2 out of 3 falls match.
So you know, obviously I like when you do a different thing with a 2 out of 3 falls match. You don't do the thing where it's like one long match, 2 falls back to back real quick, and then it's just another long match. Jocelyn wins this 2 falls straight, and the second fall was by referee's decision. And Jocelyn was like kind of like healing on the crowd a little bit. So that's very interesting to see where this is going to go. I don't feel as though their program is over. It's kind of left open maybe for them to do Katie and Jocelyn one more time. But we shall see. Yeah.
Fun match, not surprised by who won, kind of surprised on how it was handled, you know, but it is what it is. Next up, we have the Bone Collector, Casey Carrington, versus Dom Guarini in a dog collar match.
So Casey Carrington and his group come out dressed like the Dudleys. Again, I would be embarrassed to be dressed anything like Ray Deadly. Maybe Dudley or Dances with Dudley or right on down the line. But no, Casey did say Spike was his inspiration for this. And if you listen to the podcast this past week, John said it was a little bit too short of notice, but that group did lobby to attempt to get Joel Gertner to come out and do the full introductions for them. And again, this is one of those things, you got to be more on top of this. You got to have these ideas quicker, you know?
Yeah.
Dom comes out very serious, hometown crowd, mom and dad are there. He comes out to Fleetwood Mac's The Chain, and this match was brutal. This match was crazy. Both guys get busted open, and it wasn't just your standard dog collar match where it's just like dog collar, but it's pinfalls, or dog collar and it's touch all 4 corners. It's dog collar, submit or surrender. And, you know, they set things up where the cronies on the outside, Jackson Stone and Brian Carson, end up taking each other out. So now Dom has to act as quick as he can before they recoup, and he does. Dom kind of closes the book on Casey Carrington. And now where does Dom go from here? And that's where a lot of this is, of course, with the way WrestleMania is, like, you either have programs ending or programs beginning, and then it's to wonder, like, where things go from here,
Yeah. But real nasty bloodbath, and I liked it,
For sure.
All right, so the Jollyville Fuckets versus the Bitcoin Boys versus Members Only versus To Infinity and Beyond?
Right. So Cheech is not there for some reason. I don't know what Cheech's problem is. I hope he's okay. But Colin ends up replacing Cheech, as you had mentioned earlier, with Louis Linden in the match. Obviously, this is, on paper, was supposed to be two stalwart teams in AIW of the Jollyville Fuckets and Cheech and Colin taking on two young upstart teams in Bitcoin Boys and Members Only. Bitcoin Boys actually have had a lot of really good wins, kind of sporadically and spread out through the course of things, where I think Members Only needed this big win. It's announced for this Saturday. One of the non-tournament matches is the Von Englands, and I feel bad. I don't know what their new tag team name is, but it's a triple threat tag team match of the Von Englands versus Members Only versus PME. So, you have... What was that?
Is it the Heritage?
Maybe.
I think that pops up.
If I'm doing commentary this weekend, I really should know that,
Yeah.
So obviously you have a team on the come up. You have a team in the middle. Everything okay over there?
Yeah, I just dropped my phone. It happens.
So team on the come up, a team on the down, and a team in the middle. So that'll be very interesting. But I thought this was a fun match. And I really, and whether it was planned or not, and obviously on the fly or not, where Louis Linden ends up kind of abandoning Colin, you can now maybe do Cheech and Colin versus 9 to 5 as a separate program going forward, just to give them something to do. So they're fighting new teams, each other.
Yeah. All right. So Members Only gets the win, as you mentioned before. Next up, PB Smooth versus Isaiah Broner.
So this was the shortest match on the show. A very dominant win by Isaiah Broner. Obviously, I have no advance notice or anything like that of what John is up to. But if you're not building to Isaiah Broner versus JB at some point down the road, then what are we doing?
Yeah, no, I agree. All right, another, speaking of hard-hitting fights, we have Kaplan versus Tim Donst. Somebody that we talk about a lot with the Chikara show homework,
Yeah. So it was good to see Donst back. Donst is announced for the show this Saturday as well. So it'll be nice to see him. I have to be careful. Again, it's Tim Donst. This weekend, but obviously did you see Kaplan's promo that he released before the show?
I did not, no.
Okay. It's worth it. Hang on.
Oh, a little live drop in. All right, let's do this.
Like I said, it's definitely worth it. So you need to see it, obviously, but the listeners are just going to hear.
All right.
This week hit me differently, knowing that tomorrow night is the biggest show of the year for AIW and possibly the biggest match of my wrestling career. After 7 years of being in this business, I'm finally getting my singles match with Absolution 15. So if I'm going to do it, might as well make it worth it. That's why I chose you, Tim Donst. Now, I'm not doing this out of hate. I actually respect you. I know you've been through a lot. Hell, you overcame cancer. I was there the night you broke the news to all of us. You had to relinquish your championship. Made me sick to my stomach. I was also there at Absolution 10 when you came back, had a kick-ass match, and told us all you were cancer-free. It was incredible. I'll never forget it. That's why we need you there tomorrow night, Tim. Absolution ain't the same without you. Now, with that all being said, let me tell you about respect. You see, respect only goes so far with me. And once we get in that ring and that bell dings, respect and everything I just said goes out the fucking window. Right into the rubbish. You see, I know what it's like to leave and come back. It ain't no walk in the park. I've done it before. That's why I wanted to bring you back. I wanted to welcome you back to AIW This ain't going to be no picnic, I tell you that. So hopefully you're doing whatever you need to do to train and get ready for tomorrow, besides drinking. Because the man took the drink, and the drink took the man. Just like your dad tried to take your mom's life. And since you're in Ohio, might as well go visit your dad at Grafton Penitentiary. Maybe he can teach you a thing or two about taking up the ass. You see, Tim, I'm a cancer. And I'm terminal. And you ain't gonna win this battle, Pally. Then after I'm done with you, I'm gonna go sell some jerky. Just like any other night.
One thing I will tell you for sure is I am going to go buy some beef jerky from Kaplan.
Yeah. Did he even blink once during that thing?
Nope.
He's got the eyes of a fucking serial killer. It's awesome.
Right. The whole presentation of that, he's got the big knife. He's got the meat grinder in front of him. He's got the meat, the meat that he's chopping up. That house looks like, maybe where you would see someone's last known photo taken, right?
Yeah.
And, I've known Donst for a long time, and, it was in the news. The stuff that Kaplan's talking about is like real life shit with Donst's parents.
Yeah. It's funny. It started off being all like, oh, I respect you. And then it's like, oh, fuck your mother and all this shit. Oh,
yeah.
that was crazy.
Again, quick way to add a little bit more pepper to that match. And I thought it was a good match. My good friend Mike put out on Twitter that this was the best dudes rock match of all time, because dudes do rock. And Kaplan wins like on a reversal of a schoolboy, and they were really putting it over like these two big brawler guys. Donst calls himself the Mat Wrestling Machine, but he got beat by just like a roll up from Kaplan, who's not one much known for his technical prowess.
Yeah, I can surprise you every once in a while.
Yes.
All right, next up we have the co-main event, if you will, and that is for the AIW Tag Team Championships, the challengers, Chuck Stone and Arthur MacArthur bulking season versus PME, and again for the AIW Tag Team titles, Joe. And oh man, I'm gonna let you take this to start, but I have a lot to say.
So I did correctly predict that they were going to be done up as the Road Warriors.
Yeah. And
I thought they did a great job of it. This was a super emotional match. One of those matches like Dom's match that had been built up over the last 7 months of the year. Bulking season was on a huge win streak. They finally get the champs where they want them. They kick out of the big finishing move. And this was a super hot match. It was a fast match. It didn't overstay its welcome. There was no bits that lingered. And because of that, I would have to deduct like a half a star, only because, and again, I love Artie to death. I don't know Chuck, but my favorite part of a bulking season match is that Chuck Stone hot tag.
Yeah. And
we didn't get it to its full extent in this match. But again, what do you take out of this match to put that in there just because I like it,
Yeah.
You have things to say, but that's what I got to say about this match. I really like this match. It was a very emotionally heavy match.
Yeah. And if I had to nitpick, I'd say the only thing that I would take out of it, I didn't care for the handcuff spot. It seemed a little too convenient. Like they should have went with the gimmick set of handcuffs and just had Chuck Stone like pull away from him and break it, or just have Artie go over there and tear the links apart because he's the strongest man in all the land. Like it was a little convenient that, and I get it. You're making it that for once the baby faces outsmarted the heels by having the handcuff keys, and I get that. But I think when you have two of the strongest guys on the roster, if not the strongest, you could have went in a different direction with that. That's the only nitpick I have.
So just to counteract that, I get you. And that while that would have been a cool spot, you're taking a chance in gimmicking those handcuffs.
And having them just break accidentally.
Right, exactly. And then everything goes to shit. And goddamn, who doesn't have a spare pair of handcuff keys on them at all times? Motherfucker.
Yeah, we would have a Cora Jade skateboard thing all over again, wouldn't we? All right, well, it is what it is. But
before we go into the main event, unless there's anything else that you have to say about this match.
I have stuff to say. I was just going to say, before we go on to the main event, I was going to say that months ago, Joe, who was it that was saying that bulking season was going to be the next tag team champions?
Well, you, because you have a vested interest in the group.
Regardless of whether or not I have a vested interest, from the very beginning, from when they became the number one contenders, or even before that, I was saying that they were going to become the next tag team champions. When other podcasts were wasting airtime on trying to jokerify poor Artie, I said no. I said these guys are destined for bigger things. And who was right, Joe? I was. And yes, maybe because I was the man that was responsible for some of Artie's losses when I wasn't prepared to be tagged into the match. But I did not interfere in this match. I was nowhere near this title win. This is all on Artie and Chuck Stone. And I just want to say congratulations. That's all. I was there from the beginning when you, Joe, were publicly decrying that they did not deserve a chance at these titles. But I was there from the start. Congratulations to the bulking season. That's all I have to say.
I don't recall saying that publicly, but Adam, I sent you an email last week.
You did. You did.
You want to open that email?
I accidentally opened it earlier because you asked me if there were precautions in the way of not seeing that.
Yeah.
The contents of which, but the very next time I went to my email, it was right there. And I'm like, God damn it.
I tried to like do a whole bunch of spaces, you know?
Yeah, it didn't
I should have
work.
did like periods to put it down further.
Yeah, that's what a period, like period enter next time. But Joe sent me a sealed envelope of his prediction, and Joe had predicted that Chuck Stone was going to turn on Artie on this show. And I do want to ask you before you do your thing, was this going to be in your prediction? Were they going to lose the match and then have the turn? Okay. But
so
what was
there
your
was
mindset behind that?
There was just something about their go home promo that they put out. There was something about the verbiage that I'm like, that's a strange turn of phrase for them to use. Something's up. Something doesn't feel right. And I just thought that they were going to maybe go left when they should have went right. Maybe it was because Chuck was already announced to be in the JT Lightning Invitational Tournament and already hadn't been. And maybe I was overthinking things. And I really thought that they were going to have Chuck turn and lay Artie out. And I'm glad that they didn't. I'm glad that the right decision was made. The babyface team went up, kind of, beating their longtime rivals, fresh faces and so on and so forth. And, Artie and Chuck are like a very fun-loving, happy tag team. And to have them be like the face of the tag team division.
The face?
It's gonna open them up to a lot more fresh and unique matches.
Yeah, plus, we'll get into this in just a few seconds. Obviously, Broski's giving up the world titles, the Absolute and Intense titles. And PME, for better or worse, are linked to Broski. So you have to, coming out of Absolution, if you're going to kind of turn away from Broski for a little bit, at least until he's back and healthy, you have to drop the titles off of PME because you have to cleanse AIW of all the Cardona stuff, at least for now. And it makes sense that PME would lose to Bulking Season, so if that turn had happened, or even if Bulking Season lost, it would have been a head scratcher that PME would retain. Not that they're leaning heavily into being, Broski number 1 and number 2 anymore, but it's better to have a clean slate,
Absolutely.
All right. So next up, we have the setup of the ring. So we have Broski come out and cut a promo where he talks about why he relinquished the title and naming the stipulation. But go ahead.
You know who sucks?
I do not finish that sentence if you know what's good for you, but go ahead.
Broski.
Oh, come on now.
This promo sucked so much shit. Same old, so disingenuous. He's a heel. He did have the one good line in there that said that it was his childhood dream to win the AIW Absolute and Intense titles. I thought that was a funny line.
Yeah.
But other than that, the rest of this promo sucked. You're all marks. You should worship me. I'm the baby face of the company. Fuck you. Challenging people to fights, where somebody patted him on the leg one time and he had them thrown out of the building. And I'm just like, we all need a break from Broski. Me, you, the AIW fans, definitely Chelsea.
All right, so I did let up that when I was watching this, I tweeted out that even I can't defend the bit and that it was a really bad promo. But I will say it was designed to kind of stall for time. And Broski's little heel bits, while I do normally enjoy them, like on the indies, they tend to be like a minute or less. You know, it's like, hey, here's one. I'm gonna just attack make fun of the crowd, make fun of the hometown, make fun of the guy I'm facing, but it never really lasts more than a minute. And this, by design, the fact that it had to go and stall for a little bit, it's not good in long stretches. So it was very much exposed that he does not have 5 minutes of material. He doesn't have 10 minutes of material. He has a solid minute per promo, and then he's kind of treading water. It was bad, but I don't want to blame him just because it was like, hey, go out there and stall for 10 minutes. And that's not to his strength. That's like asking him to do an Iron Man match, like an hour-long Iron Man match. You should have known what you were getting when you got into this,
Yeah, things you don't want to do. Don't ask Broski to cut a promo longer than 5 minutes. Don't wrestle an Iron Man match, and don't take a drop toe hold. Those are the 3 Broski no-nos.
Exactly. But yes, Broski gives up the titles. He came to an agreement with John Thorne that somehow, in lieu of getting a briefcase full of money, he would just name the stipulation for the main event. So the main event is going to be a no ropes barbed wire match.
Yeah, imagine how much better that setup would have been if Broski didn't put that stupid fucking tweet out last week.
Yeah.
What a fucking dope. But this match was brutal. This match was everything that it could have, should have, would have been, right?
Yeah, and shout out to Pedro for just wrapping the barbed wire with his bare hands like a monster.
Well, Pedro's the one who built the Duke's throne as well,
Yeah.
Pedro's awesome. Pedro's the man. I love it. But like I said, so I do actually have a complaint about this match, right?
Okay.
So let me start out. Derek coming out in the replica November to Remember 1995 Mick Foley Dungeon of Doom shirt.
Yeah.
Again, obviously Mick went and had that airbrushed at like the local mall, and I forget who Derek said that who made those. And again, I'm a fat guy, so I can't wear white shirts. My only critique of that would have been that JB didn't rip that shirt off, and then Derek has the airbrushed Eric Bischoff shirt underneath, and it says "Forgive me, Uncle Eric" on the back. And then Terry Funk pulls the shirt up over Mick Foley's head, where it's now like Eric Bischoff's face is over Mick Foley's face, and then they're bashing him with chairs. But again, that might have been a little too on the nose, and it would have only popped one person, and that's me. But I still loved the Dungeon of Doom shirt that he wore, right?
Yeah, and I will say the one, if I'll nitpick it, is that commentary made a good point that Dillinger was wearing white, and going into this match, and they even said, kind of like Broski doing the GCW match against Nick Gage, and then he goes and takes the shirt off to start the match, and it was like, oh, that would have looked a great visual if it was all bloodied up,
Right. But so there's a good match, lots of big spots, lots of crazy stuff in it with the barbed wire. Both guys get busted open. Nitpick. This is my actual real nitpick about the match. I get part of the act with Derek and Ziggy is that Derek uses Ziggy as a weapon and Ziggy liberally interferes, right? But there's a couple parts where Derek had used Ziggy as a weapon. Ziggy had liberally interfered, and they're brawling on the outside, and like JB and Ziggy just like casually walk by each other like several times.
Yeah, because it's like, it's not.
She should have like shoved him, or said like "fuck you," or he should have shoved her, or he should have made like an overture toward her, like "get the fuck out of here" or something. Just something. Yeah. It's just we're just gonna casually brush by each other and have no, whatever, right? Nitpick. That's the only thing I have to nitpick about this, and I say it all the time. I know Derek and Ziggy as an act have and are positioned as heels, but they're too cool, man. Like, you can't boo them, Yeah. They're such an awesome act. There's no reason for them to be heels. I wouldn't boo them because they're awesome.
Yeah. And obviously, Bishop wins and gets the absolute and intense titles. I think that was one of the things that you could have swerved us and had Dillinger win, because obviously Dillinger has been on a run but hasn't won the big one. And I think everybody and their mother expected Bishop to beat Broski if that actually happened. But, we got Dillinger versus Bishop. And I think there was an opportunity, there's that word again, to kind of surprise the fans. But at the same time, I'm not, upset that Bishop won, at all, because it was due, And one thing that did you mentioned that you kind of saw in your mind, bulking season breaking up due to a turn. At the end of the match, there was a door set up between the ring and the guardrail that didn't get broken. Like, obviously, it was just, hey, we set it up and forgot to do it and all the chaos. But, Barkley came out and celebrated with Bishop. I was like, ooh, that door is set up. I was like, is Barkley going to stake his claim for one of the belts, and turn on Bishop? I don't know. Like, I just it was convenient that one door was still waiting to get broken, but we didn't have it happen, No,
and you know what? I didn't even think of that, but I'm okay with that. Like, maybe something gets set up and just never gets broken.
Yeah.
Obviously you want to see all the shit get broken and smashed and everything else like that. But, if this was a real fight, a real wrestling match, everything's not going to get used sometimes.
Yeah, yeah.
And you can't break up JB and Wes. I love those two together. They're the best.
Yeah, no, like I said, it's not something that I necessarily wanted to see, but it would have been a shocker if it happened,
For sure.
But really good show. I enjoyed the show a lot,
So that's one AIW show in the books. We got another one coming up this weekend. This Saturday, 5 o'clock, not streaming live on Jerry's Internet Wrestling Emporium, because Jefferson, Ohio / Ashtabula County is literally in the middle of nowhere, and I don't think they have internet.
Yeah, it hasn't gotten there yet.
Hasn't gotten there yet, so eventually it will be going up on independentwrestling.tv shortly thereafter. I'm going to be there. Adam's going to be there. We're doing a live version of At Odds with Wrestling, our monumental 200th episode.
I know. It is such an awesome coincidence that it happened to line up. Like, what are the odds that we have our anniversary episode right there when we're going to be live? It's kismet.
Right, and it is going to go up on the feed probably between now and next week. Obviously when I get the file and everything else like that, I'm going to put it up on the feed. So if you're not there live, you'll definitely get a chance to hear it. Wrestling Cheers is doing a show. Pod Van Dam's doing a show. Then there's the actual wrestling event itself, the first annual Bill Alfonso Hardcore Invitational Tournament. And then after that is John and Steve and Pat doing The Card Is Going to Change. I'm going to guess at least 2 of those parties are going to be several sheets to the wind. So that's going to be very interesting to see how that plays out. You could look for me heading for that place that allegedly has the best burger in the world. After the show, before the show, during the show, I'm not really sure. But they did announce the show. I teased some of the matches before. The first 4 opening round matches are Hoodfoot versus Kaplan, which is a rematch from one of the Winchester shows. Levi Everett versus Madman Pondo. Wes Barkley versus Derek Dillinger, which is a rematch of a match that they had back at one of the Winchester shows as well. And a match nearly 5+ years in the making. Nightmare Freddy taking on Ultramantis Black. The boss himself, my client, if you will. So the winners of those 4 matches are going to go on to a 4-man. I don't know if it's a first fall or an elimination finals, and the winner is going to get a trophy, and they're going to get to pick a match of their choice at Wrestle Rager next month.
Yeah, and most likely, a title match. Why wouldn't you pick a match that you're going to get the benefit of?
Right. And then, of course, I mentioned before, there's the 3-team match with PME and members only and the Von Englands. Tim Donst is going to be there in a match, from what I understand. Big Dan Champion's going to be there in a match of some capacity. JB is going to be there in a match of some capacity. And a lot more of your AIW favorites are going to be there interspersed throughout the day.
Yeah. Yeah, looking forward to catching the other podcasts, and I'm sure we'll figure out what we're gonna do at some point between now and then. Everybody else is like, oh, this is Wrestling Cheers is like, here's a very detailed plan of everything we're gonna do minute by minute, and it's like, we'll figure it out at some point before we get there, right?
You know how Broski, whenever he talks about like the FWF live shows and he writes out these scripts. Right. I don't want to say that like what we're planning is an inspiration. Like I'm inspired by what Broski's doing for those. But I definitely have like a fishbone idea of what we're going to do. And the fishbone idea for what we're going to do for the show is the same thing that we've done for the last 199 and a half episodes of this show.
Except, maybe with some beers in us, or at least me.
Well, you do what you need to do. I got no control over that. Luckily, the technical aspects are being handled by someone other than you and I. There's 2 podcasts that are going on before us, so they're going to work out all the kinks and tell us what to do and not to do. And then I'll just have to remind you constantly during the show.
All right, yeah, I'm looking forward to it. And then, the good night of wrestling, and maybe I'll crash the card is going to change. What are they going to do?
Good luck. Well, hey, Adam, we have some voicemails to get into.
All right, let's do it.
Joe, Adam, it's the Wiki. I just wanted to say congratulations on 200 episodes. You guys made it. Way to go.
So thank you, David, for calling in with that. Of course, this was before we made the decision to make this the 199 and a half episode. But again, thank you very much. I do want to say, go ahead.
No, I was going to say thank you, DeWiki. Couldn't have been done without you.
Yes, definitely doing a lot of help with a lot of the audio elements, the drops and the bits that you hear here, and a lot of the other shows currently on the soon-to-be-named network, and maybe coming soon to the soon-to-be-named network.
Ooh.
Mm-hmm. All right, next call.
Hello, Anonymous Wrestling. It is I, your new 1/2 of the AIW Tag Team Champions. Oh my God, sir. I'm sure you discussed and about that for this week's homework. And Adam, I will get you your belt very soon. I'm working on it. Be patient. Perhaps I'll get it to you this Saturday. But about Saturday, obviously we have the AIW Bill Alfonso Hardcore Tournament. And they'll crown the first ever champion of the sort. Now, a little fun fact, and I mentioned about it earlier on Twitter. We'll start driving here, very rainy out here.
Be safe.
There's a burger joint down the road, and I want you to understand the setting of where we're going. It's kind of like, I wouldn't say it's in the middle of nowhere, but it's a lot of vast farmland, a lot of vast open space, a lot of acres of land. And there's a place with a sign, and it's a bold claim. It says World's Best Burger. Now, this could be a great opportunity. We can either A, have a great burger and enjoy ourselves and be amazed at the world's greatest burger, or B, we can sue because it's not, and they lied. I think you need actual documentation and votes for that, and I don't think this little podunk burger shop in Jefferson, Ohio, which is a bar, by the way, would have that claim. So I guess we can discuss, what is your favorite burger anywhere? Me personally, I love Five Guys. I don't care what Dom says. I don't care if he thinks it's overrated. I think Five Guys is great. How about you? Have a great day, and I can't wait to see you this Saturday.
All right. Again, congratulations, Artie. Maybe not call us from the car next time.
Right. Be safe.
Yeah. It's not safe, and it's not great audio, but I look forward to purchasing a T-shirt from you. I already made a deal. Everybody should take advantage of getting some of those bulking season shirts this weekend. I do like Five Guys. I don't have like a favorite burger. Like Five Guys might be my favorite like chain burger, but like whenever I go to like a brewery or something like that serves food, like that's kind of my generic go-to is to get like a burger. And there's I can't remember the name of it, but there's a brewery in Bloomsburg that is awesome, has great beer, and it has a really good burger, but I can't remember the name of it. But Yeah, I mean, as far as chains go, Five Guys, but I like a lot of the indie places better.
Yeah, I'm kind of with you. I like Five Guys. I'm not going to say that Five Guys is overrated, but Five Guys definitely is a little pricey. And I don't get it all the time just because of the price point on it, Like
Yeah.
you go there, you get a burger, fries, and a drink, and it's almost like $15,
Yeah.
And God forbid you get like a double patty or like, whatever it is, then you're like tipping the scales at $20. And you're not really getting the full feel for it. You got to go to your like local places, your indie places and stuff like that. So I'm kind of in the same mindset as Adam. You go to a new place, you see burgers on the menu, you get a burger, and you're good to go. That's a good test for any sort of place. If they can't do a burger right, they can't do anything else right,
Exactly. And I just Googled the brewery in Bloomsburg. It's actually called Turkey Hill. And when my buddy was like, we're going to Turkey Hill, I was like, what, like that fucking convenience store?
Right.
But no, it's awesome if you're in the area. Check it out. But not a sponsor.
No, not a sponsor. So I'll tell you what makes a good burger, right? You see those pictures all the time of like a gourmet burger where it's like this giant stacked up monstrosity that you couldn't take a bite out of.
Yeah, I hate those, but go ahead.
If you can't pick up a burger with two hands and take a bite from top bun to bottom bun, it's not a good burger, right?
Yeah. Or if you need a contraption that's holding it all together because it's not structurally sound.
Right, not a good burger,
Yeah.
Give me a nice bun, give me a nice brioche, give me a nice pretzel bun, even like a nice whole wheat or sesame seed bun, right?
Mm-hmm.
Give me some grilled onions, give me some mushrooms, maybe a little barbecue sauce. And if they have it on the menu and they're willing to throw it on there, and you want to trick yourself that you're being healthy, instead of lettuce, which essentially is just like, green water,
Yeah.
see if they have spinach. Have them saute up some spinach and throw that on the burger as well. Oh, magnifique.
No thanks.
All right,
no, thank you. I don't put anything green on my burgers.
I'm gonna say, when it comes to burgers, look at me and look at you. Who knows burgers better? You who do you think knows burgers better?
I get bread, I get meat, I get cheese, I get bacon. That's all it's allowed.
No cheese. No, thank you.
Oh, Jesus. All right. Thank you, Artie. Congratulations.
Thank you, Artie. Next call.
Hey, guys. Kevin here. Still feeling under the weather for COVID. Current hope is I'm back to work on Monday. Speaking of work, you guys got a busy weekend. If you haven't already addressed it on the show, I'm just curious what the plan is for the live episode. If it goes up as its own thing, if it's the episode of the week, or if you're going to record again next Thursday and talk all about the trip. And I'm guessing these podcasts are not going to be streamed live on IWTV, but I would love if they were. Okay, so 16 million that they found, and don't know what it is yet. And the details haven't come out yet, but we all probably are waiting for it. And I'm really just wondering how bad it's going to be. What's the old saying? Like, don't get caught with a dead girl or a live boy. So I'm going, like, I guess what I'm asking is, what's your worst possible thing that you think has been covered up here? Not that's not bad already, but like, what's the worst possible thing? Because right now, my thought is covered up a dead body, but maybe even evidence of like snuck his girlfriend, finally, after all these years. Or there is some underage thing which would make their delay in dealing with people who have had similar allegations against them because they're of similar mindset, I guess, would be the way to put it. And if so, that would be horrible for many reasons, but also I think it takes wrestling down for a few years and will take a while for wrestling to come back out of it. I think it won't be seen as just an individual. It would be seen as like all of wrestling, and it would hit every company very hard. So we could all blame Vince for it. Best of luck this weekend, guys. I hope it all goes well. Can't wait to hear all about it. And what is your worst case for what this money is covering up? A pleasant question this week. So talk to you later, guys. Bye.
Thank you, Kevin. I'll just kind of start from the back end of this and just say worst case with Vince. I mean, he's already helped basically hide a body, so.
Right.
But I don't. Oh, go ahead.
Yeah, I was gonna say like the things that Kevin mentioned, like they're gonna hide a body, like maybe Snooka's girlfriend. Yeah, we're all kind of aware of that, and you know we all just kind of moved on from it and talked about something with like underage kids and the Mel Phillips stuff, and we're all aware of Vince covering that up and lying on the Larry King show and Donahue and in court saying that Mel Phillips wasn't an employee, but he was, and he did make Mel Phillips promise that he would stay away from boys, and Mel Phillips didn't, and so Vince had to cover up more, right?
Yeah.
I think the next thing that's going to come out, if anything, like what would be like a real big gut punch is if we have like audio or video of Vince and Kevin Dunn and Johnny Ace, not My Sweet Brucey though, he would never do anything like this, being horrible, saying racist or sexist or homophobic stuff, or bragging about like the conquests or stuff like that. Like we have audio or video of them doing it.
Yeah. I don't think that there's going to be any new like he helped cover a murder or he helped hide, this bad thing, because none of that matters in the grand scheme of the WWE, because as you said, it's more or less happened before. The big twist on it is that now you are having the ramifications as a company, like you're having the shareholders lose money because WWE money is being spent on Vince's improprieties, and certain things are illegal. You can't do this with company money, and that's where the new consequences are going to come from. But I agree that like audio or video footage of them doing something, it would cause people like you and I, Joe, to just completely be like, fuck Vince. Like if you're not already on the fuck Vince train, like you would fully be on board. But as we've seen with certain politicians over the last couple of years, you could have audio of Vince McMahon saying something horrible, and like the WWE bootlickers would still be bowing to him when he comes out for his like farewell. They'd still be doing the thank you Vince, clap 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 clap. Even if he did something horrible on tape. So at the end of the day, it wouldn't be changed, but. And as far as us doing an episode, I assume I'm not lucky enough to get out of doing another recording next Thursday, so we'll probably do a normal show.
That's right. No days off, my friend.
Oh, God damn it. So people are getting 3 episodes over the course of a week,
You're getting an extra episode.
Yeah.
And I want to...
I was just going to say, that's why you're getting, 199.5, you're getting 200, and you're getting 201, all within, 8 days.
Right. So one thing I want to 100% disagree with Kevin on, where he said that like whatever this next thing is going to be is going to like hurt all of wrestling.
Yeah, no, I don't think so.
I 100% disagree with you. When WWE has spent the last 40 years putting themselves out there as the only thing what wrestling is, if something happens to WWF, something happens to Vince, it's not going to affect the indies. It's not going to affect AEW. It's going to make all of these things stronger. Because the thing that has been sent out there is the shining example of what professional wrestling is. And they tell you there is no alternative. And we are the end all be all of professional wrestling. And they take that hit. All the other stuff is going to come up.
I can see the super casuals, like the people who don't actively watch wrestling or maybe never did, seeing on the news the Vince McMahon stuff, and then maybe like they open up a newspaper and they see, AEW is going to be in the town, and be like, oh, that's that Vince McMahon stuff. But it's not like they were going to spend money on wrestling anyways, so it's not going to hurt the product, but it could hurt the overall perception from the casuals. But that doesn't matter.
They don't matter. Right.
Exactly. So like you and I who spend money on wrestling, it's not going to affect us. It's not going to affect anybody who can tell the difference between WWE and something else,
Correct.
All right. Thanks, Kevin.
Next call.
Joe, Adam, it's Kevin Ford. Long time no talk. Well, at least on the voicemail. But I had to call you because something came to mind. AEW, of course, announced they're doing trios titles. And wouldn't you know it, they're lucky enough to have both members of Double Trouble Crap on a Stick under their employ. But it's trios titles, so they need to become Triple Trouble Crap on a Stick. So which current AEW roster member, or just, I guess, personnel member, would you have join this illustrious team to join the trios tournament or whatever they're going to do to crown new champions? Looking forward to your answers. Thanks for taking my call. And don't fuck up this weekend.
Joe, before we start, and first, thank you, Kevin Ford, my favorite independent wrestling commentator. I haven't said that in a long time. But Joe, you guys can both make fun of me in the group chat. Who's Double Trouble crap on a stick?
That's Big Show and Billy Gunn.
Oh, okay, yeah. It's coming back to me now. All right, I don't know, man. Who's your third member? I've never given this any thought.
Well, again, you have Big Show, former WWE talent, was there from like the 90s up until just recently. You have Billy Gunn, former WWE talent, there from the 90s up until more recently. Throw another WWE guy on the team who was there from the 90s up to relatively recently. Mark Henry.
Yeah.
They're triple trouble crap on a stick.
All right, yeah, that's more thought than I thought I'd ever give to that topic. But all right, as long as it's not the Road Dog who definitely worked himself into a shoot on never getting a job there.
He wants Tony Khan to tell him why he won't hire him. Road Dog, I'll tell you why Tony Khan won't hire you. 'Cause you're a bitch. I saved you the trouble. You could sleep easy at night. Tony Khan called me. He told me, tell Road Dogg, I'm not going to hire him for AEW because he's a bitch.
Yeah, and he contributes absolutely nothing to wrestling, and he's only rode the coattails of more talented people that were on screen with him at any time. Whether it be Jeff Jarrett or Billy Gunn or the rest of DX. He's just a dude, so he can go fucking float away into irrelevance,
Right. Go join the Russo network of podcasts and go lament why no one cares what the fuck you have to think about professional wrestling in the year of our Lord 2022.
Yeah, and it's like, I have so much to give to wrestling, but the establishment won't book me because I shake things up and say things they don't want to say. Fuck that guy.
Racist things, homophobic things, transphobic things, and you hide behind the curtain of your religion. We're good. Stay home.
Yeah. Just because somebody was on TV a lot 20 years ago doesn't mean we have to give them any attention.
Right.
Yeah.
Just because you were on TV 5 years ago, we don't need to give you any attention.
Exactly. It's just all this like kissing the ass of fucking attitude era people, and I see it all the time in like maybe a certain doll related Facebook group where they're like, I can't wait to get this sign from this fucking way canceled person or this person who should be canceled. Oh, come on. There's a lot of people to look up to. You don't have to look up to everybody.
Anyways. Now, last week I did put the call out to say, get you, our listeners, get someone, a friend, someone famous, someone much larger in the wrestling community to call in and give us thanks for hitting our 200th show this Saturday. And somebody actually came through.
What? All right. Is it Alexa Bliss?
No, but it's someone who's just as lovely, very nice, the pride of Allentown himself.
Hey, what's up, Joe and Adam? It is Ian Riccaboni, and I'm checking in to wish you a congratulations on your 200th episode of At Odds with Wrestling. So I think everybody knew that Joe had a shot at making the stick, right? Joe is a seasoned veteran. Everybody knew Joe's a podcasting pro, but I don't think anybody thought Adam would make it this long. At least that's what our friend David had to say. I believed in you. I believed in you this whole time. I believed in Joe. I believed in Adam. And I just wanted to check in and say congratulations. I don't believe what that David guy had to say because I believed in you from episode 1. So congratulations, Joe and Adam. We love the podcast, At Odds with Wrestling. And David's a hater. Got to watch out for that guy. He's a hater. We all knew you could do it. So congratulations, Joe. Congratulations, Adam. Keep up the good work.
Thank you very much for David for arranging that. And thank you very much, Ian. What a lovely man.
Yeah, absolutely. That's really cool. I'm glad to see that Ian was on my side from the very beginning. You know, he knew from the early episodes that I would gut it out, I would figure this out, and I would be here for the long haul, unlike the rest of you traitors out there. DeWicki, who didn't have faith in me. I'm glad that Ian, you know, day one listener, obviously. I'm glad he has faith in me.
Yes, David was the only one who didn't believe that you'd make it this long, Adam.
At this point, I'm doing it out of spite, but I'm here.
All right.
Yeah, he's the only one. But yeah, that's awesome. Thank you for all parties involved in making that happen.
Absolutely.
Hopefully
all
it
right.
wasn't that expensive.
All right, it's pink button time.
Yeah.
Hey, Joe and Adam, it's Ed. Tuesday morning, very tired. I stayed up till midnight to pre-order Twice's new mini album, Between 1 and 2. It's not just CDs, though. You get a bunch of stuff with it, like posters and photo cards and whatnot. But that's beside the point. I know you're both like you like dolls, so I was just wondering, what's the longest you guys had to wait for a pre-order? Because I had to wait a month for this shit, and that just seems ridiculous to me. But I feel like there's got to be pre-orders that people have waited for longer. So yeah, that's about it. Just let me know. I'll see you guys this weekend. Very excited. I don't know, man. I'm really tired. I'm gonna take a nap for the rest of my break now. Okay, bye.
I'll go first,
Yeah.
if that's okay with you.
Absolutely.
The longest that I had was about 13 months, and that was the Zombie Sailor Heels and Faces figs.
Yeah.
The recent Zombie Sailor interview that he did on the Patreon for the Broski Network said that the Double J is going to be hopefully arriving in the shores of the United States sometime in September. And that's going to beat that. That's going to tip the scales at 14 plus months.
Yeah, I knew like when he was saying that was going to be your answer, because I couldn't think of anything that you would have bought, that would have taken longer than the zombie figs.
No,
but,
like most of the things that I've done have been like 4 to 6. Like I'd say like 4 to 6 is a good average,
because that's the normal time frame. That's usually when things, ringside or a Star Wars figure or Marvel Legend, it's usually, within 4 months of when it's announced, unless there's a delay, which might only add like a month to it. That's kind of the normal acceptable business parameters. But it's funny and very timely that Ed would bring this up. I just tweeted today. We are, in fact, in the golden age of Azrael, and Mafex figure that I pre-ordered 21 months ago just arrived today. It was October of 2020 is when I pre-ordered that figure. And it was promised, even when it was announced, it was going to be a year, so it said it was going to be coming fall of 2021. And we are now in July of 2022, and it is finally in my hands. So that's the longest I've ever had to wait. That was 21 months.
I would have just assumed it was canceled and that my money was gone,
Well, I did it through Big Bad Toy Store, and they don't charge until it ships. So They never actually had my money until a week ago. But that's kind of the standard. I mean, maybe not 2 years, but you usually have to wait a year on those like Japanese import figures because they announce them and then Japan gets them first and yada yada. But it's here 21 months later. So that's the longest. That's my record.
And worth it.
Exactly. It's a fucking nice figure. For people that aren't just saying mean things out of spite, they look at this figure and they're like, oh, that's a nice figure.
It is a nice figure for, at the very least, like the 5th best Batman.
All right. Fair enough. Thanks, Ed.
So Ed called back.
All right.
Hey, Joe and Adam, it's Ed again. I know 2 calls. Sorry, Adam. But listen,
you're allowed.
I pre-ordered another K-pop album because Yena has a mini album called Smartphone coming out. Really, I think this is a good hobby for me because, like, you only release a mini album every, 4 to 5 months. And it's, just a fucking CD, so it costs, I don't know, $20. It's definitely going to end up being my cheapest interest for sure. Definitely won't let me down like Poppy. But hey, Poppy made me money this week, so fucking hey. Okay, see you guys this weekend. Okay, bye.
Yeah, as someone who has much more expensive hobbies that cost in both like money and brain cells, spending $20 every couple of months, even if it was $20 a month, who gives a shit? That seems like a reasonable hobby to be involved in.
Yeah. Like, it's not my hobby, but it's like my hobby through my kid. I get him the like whatever the new Pokemon set that comes out, the Elite Trainer box thing.
Yeah.
And it's like $60 once every like 3 months, so it's like $20 a month. You know what I mean? Like, it's more or less like money I'd be giving to him out of his allowance, but he's very happy when they come in. And the one was delayed, actually. The new set had like come out a month ago and was already like on shelves around here, which was fucking wild, right?
Yeah.
And it just came in the mail this past week, and he was super excited when he got it. He got a bunch of cards that he likes and so on and so forth. But like, that's my cheap hobby for my kid. Comics, I guess, depending on the week, like I spend like maybe an average of like $30 a week on comics, sometimes a little bit more, sometimes a little bit less. Just depending on how the thing shuffles out. Like, I used to keep track of how much I spent weekly and yearly and stuff on comics.
Yeah.
And we used to put it in the pull post for the comic book podcast, and then things got real depressing.
I bought one book this week. But all right, cool. Is that it for voicemails?
That is it for voicemails. Obviously, plug stuff. I mentioned it before. IndependentWrestling.tv, aka Jerry's Internet Wrestling Emporium. Use the promo code @odds if you're a new subscriber and you keep your subscription, which you absolutely will, because there's tons of good stuff up there, whether it be live streams, past stuff, super old stuff from like the late 90s, early 2000s. Think of any wrestler you possibly can, whether it be WWF, AEW, deceased, retired, on the come up, on the downfall. You could search them and you could find them on independentwrestling.tv. You can head over to our TeePublic store, housed through the mothership, tinyurl.com/longboxheroes. And you can get shirts and cell phone covers and notebooks with designs inspired by this show and the Longbox Heroes shows and We Need Wrestling, or We Need Wrestling as their own. Final Wrestling Place, Hit My Music, and Fig Daddy Cool as a shirt in there as well. So 35% off all orders through TeePublic this weekend up to Sunday.
Yeah, and I kept teasing that there might be a new design going up on there. While it won't go live on the site because I haven't made those arrangements, I will be unveiling a new At Odds logo maybe this weekend for the 200th episode.
Gotcha.
But gotta bump that Fig Daddy Cool shirt on the top selling ranking,
For sure. Another way they can help us out is by making any and all of your purchases through our Amazon affiliate link. Does not cost you anything extra. Amazon call it an advertising fee. I call it the thing that makes Adam happy at the end of the month when he gets his cut of the fucking money. Yeah. Too much Longbox Heroes talking. I'm not editing that out. Some of the notable purchases through the Amazon click-through this past week include somebody purchased the Star Wars Black Series credit collection of The Mandalorian.
Okay.
I don't know what the credit collection is.
Those are the ones that I have the weird paint job because they're based on the end credit scenes. The end credit have the storyboarding.
Yes.
So, yeah, that's what those are. So I believe with my layman's, not being an expert on this topic, I believe that's the third Mandalorian Black figure in the credit series. So
yes.
If anybody was collecting those, that's a very important one to have.
And somebody also purchased the McFarlane Toys DC Collector Multi-Pack of Booster Gold and Blue Beetle.
More on that maybe later, because I feel like that was a hot seller across the board.
I definitely think that was a hot seller amongst people who listen to this show. Yes.
Yeah. All right. People who listen to this show and people who don't listen to this show should listen to these shows, Joe. And these shows are Longbox Heroes, Longbox Heroes After Dark, Final Wrestling Place, We need music. Hit my music. God damn it. We need wrestling. Well,
none of this is getting edited.
Yeah, no, fuck it. Throw it in there. We need wrestling. Hit my music. Porch talk. Viewer's choice. WWE War. Wrestling Cheers. See you this Saturday, sir. IWTV Guide. Pod Van Dam. Wings on Wings. Between the Sheets, and I will not plug the A Show, but I will talk to Artie this weekend about the challenge that has been set forward of me and Artie on an episode of the A Show. I don't think it's going to happen. I don't think either myself or Artie should give them the rub, but we will talk about it this weekend. Fuck the A Show. And that's it for plugs, Joe.
Well, it's time for Adam's favorite part of the show.
Some might cost a little. Some might cost a lot. But I'm the $100 Vansky. And your figures will be bought.
All right, Joe, I feel like the last 2 weeks just haven't quite been the most optimal weekly purchases for me because, 2 weeks ago we skipped it because our show ran long because of Ed. And then last week we kind of spent a lot of time on what was going to come out with the San Diego reveal. So I feel like I kind of breezed through a lot of stuff. So this week is a return to form, Joe, because I have a lot of purchases.
I got like 2.
All right. So I'll start off with a couple, and then we'll kind of go over to you. I went on a doll safari today, Joe, and I wasn't going to. I said to myself, there's no reason to go. I have a lot of things coming in the mail. I don't need to spend any money in the store, and I've been striking out a lot, like in person with safaring. But I decided on a whim just to go into my local Target, and for the first time in a long time, I saw new figures, and I saw the WWE Legends 15 set, which had the Stacy Keibler, the Kane, the X-Pac, and there were 2 Lex Luger chases on the shelf. And there were no basics, like no non-chases, but the 2 chases are the ones in his like orange attire, orange pants. And I picked them both up, one for myself and one for a friend of the show, Brett, who's a big WCW fan.
For sure.
And I was very pumped to see those in person. I would have grabbed the Stacy Keiblers and canceled my pre-order, but they're actually like supposed to come tomorrow. So couldn't do that. I'm going to get that in the mail. So got that taken care of. I was happy to get that.
So I saw a lot of people actually along the East Coast, people in Virginia, Maryland area, people in the Georgia area finding this set.
Yeah.
On their shelves today as well. And even people finding the chase as well, just like you did.
Well, according to Target's website, the 28th is the release date for all these figures, which is today as we're recording this. West Coast started to see them in stores like a week ago, so it's following suit that the East Coast is behind when it comes to figures. But
it's still cool to see like a lot of like, up and down the Eastern Seaboard, seeing these figures hit more or less at the same time.
Yeah. Yeah, it is. It's cool that they actually went out on the street date. It was as opposed to going out a week early and, being unprepared or just taking forever. But yeah, it's weird because I feel like there's certain Legends sets that I just never see in person, or certain figures from that set. But it was cool to see it in person. Other than that, just to keep it wrestling related real quick, I purchased a card in the major Facebook group, and it's not a special card. It's not autographed. It's not rare. It's not even that expensive, but it's a card I didn't have, Joe, and that is the 2015 Topps Chrome rookie card of a young upstart from NXT named Alexa Bliss, and it's the very first card. It's like I said, not an expensive card, but I did get it for about half of retail, and I got added to the old grease shelf.
For sure.
Yeah. What about you, Joe? What's something you picked up?
Well, we mentioned the Amazon purchases, and this is definitely something that, in our little group of people, Whether you like comic books as much as me and Todd do, or you like wrestling as much as you and I do, one thing that most of us all can agree on is that Booster Gold and Blue Beetle are the coolest.
Yep.
I went ahead and pulled the trigger, buying directly from Big Bad Toy Store as soon as I saw the thing. And then foolishly later saw that it was up on sites like Entertainment Earth and Amazon and so on and so forth at a much lower price. But thank you to anyone and everyone who purchased theirs through our Amazon affiliate link. Don't be stupid like me who just buys the first one that you see and gets charged like an extra like $3 or $4.
Yeah, pays to wait on stuff like that. I'm becoming a patient person. I feel like as long as something isn't like serial numbered, like numbered, that I'm just like pump the brakes, wait for a deal. That's why I'm not running out to Ringside right away to pre-order everything anymore.
Right.
But I too purchased that 2-pack. I'm gonna get some heat for this. I kind of wish they were sold separately because I just wanted the booster. I appreciate the fact that it's a 2-pack, but if I had my druthers, I'd like to have just bought the booster. But it is what it is. And for those that listened to the most recent episode of Porch Talk, myself and Todd, in preparation for this figure going up for order, kind of like did a recap of like maybe an incarnation of domination, if you will, of all the previous Booster Gold figures, because I had kind of thought to myself, how much do I need to purchase to become like the Michael Jordan of Booster Gold figures? And surprisingly, it's not a lot. Like, Joe, do you want to take a guess of how many Booster Gold figures exist, not counting Funko Pops?
I would guess 6.
Yeah, it's actually, there are 3 figures, and they're all the same figures, just different packaging. 3 figures based on the Justice League Unlimited, which is like the cartoon.
Yeah.
And then there are 4 total, like full scale figures. There's one of them that is a carded 52 figure, from the 52 like year-long miniseries.
Yep.
There's one of them based on Justice League International and Kevin Maguire's artwork, which is actually the most expensive one, which I don't have. And then there are 2 of them that are in the DC Universe line, which are the exact same figure, just one of them has a collar and one of them does not. So based on this research, one of my weekly purchases, in addition to buying the McFarlane 2-pack, is I bought one of the Justice League Unlimited animated style figures, which I didn't have. I don't have any of them, and I don't think I'm going to buy all 3 of them because, again, they are the same figure, just in different carding. But I bought one of them that has the carding based on the animated series, and it was like $20.
Yeah, so that was going to be my question. With it being based on the animated series, the Justice League Unlimited, and essentially being 3 different quote-unquote figures, it's just different card backs. It is actually the same figure, no paint difference, no deco hits, no nothing like that.
From what I can tell, it's the same figure because what they basically did, and I'm going to text you the one that I bought, they came out with the solo one, and then they came out with a 3-pack, which is just the solo figure of Booster with Superman and with Martian Manhunter. And then I think a couple years later, they used the same figure and put it in like a DC Universe line. So it was like a reissue. But as far as I know, they're the same figure, But,
okay, yeah. When you were saying the 3-pack, like I visualized the 3-pack, like I've seen it before, with the Superman and the Martian Manhunter for sure.
Yeah, because and it's just funny. I don't know if I ever told you this, but like I had never heard of Booster Gold, or at least had no memory of him until that one that one Justice League Unlimited episode. It was called The Greatest Story Never Told, where it was like Booster Gold just saving the world in the background. And that was my introduction to him. And I was like, oh my God, I love this character. And it went from there. So I'm surprised it took me this long to get a figure of like the animated style,
Absolutely.
All right. So yeah, and again, go check out that episode of Porch Talk if you want to hear us deep dive into that Booster Gold figures, and as well as both Todd and I having a Mandela effect where we believed we both owned a Booster Gold figure where he had all the sponsorships on his chest.
Right.
We both insisted that we own that figure, and then we found out there is no such figure. So it was like a Berenstain Bears thing all over again.
There wasn't even like an alternate chase or something for the 52 figure?
That's what we insisted, but there was not. There's no such thing.
Okay.
Yeah, so very interesting. All right, Joe, back to some other purchases, and I'll throw it over to you because you said you have another one, correct?
I do.
A couple days ago, I was texting with friend of the show, Derek, the guy who does our Photoshops when they're too tough for me to do. And he saw in the Facebook group another Alexa Bliss card. And it was an autograph card that somebody was selling, and it was a really good price, and he was trying to enable me to buy it, and I was like, no, I'm good, and he was thinking about buying it, but it was a really good price. But we both passed on it. And then tonight in the flea market, apparently he dropped it another $10, and this is like a really, really, really good price. It's about a third, maybe a quarter of what they sell for on eBay. And then that enabler in training, DJ, of We Need Wrestling, went and tagged me in it. And I'm like, oh, man, it is really a good price. So I bought a Topps Chrome. I don't know what year it is. Limited to 199 autographed Alexa Bliss card in the flea market tonight.
I wish these people would stop enabling you, but I love that they are.
Don't they realize that I have no income coming in? Everything that's in my bank account is all that I'm guaranteed. I really shouldn't be wasting it on signed Alexa Bliss cards, but here we are. It happened, you know?
Right.
All right. One more thing, and then I'll send it over to you. Or actually, two more things. I have a lot of purchases. Are you familiar, Joe, with the line of Super 7 figures called Super Cyborgs?
No.
So obviously Super 7 has the Ultimates. They have the Reaction. Super Cyborgs are these giant, like 16-inch tall figures. And they're usually robots. You know, there's like Megatron, Optimus Prime, whatever. And they usually come apart. So like if you were so inclined, you could see the inner workings of this robot. Obviously I don't do that because I'm a mint and box boy, but I found on eBay a steal because these things retail like $75, and that's why I never buy them. A steal that was one of them that was $40 plus shipping of a Cobra bat. You know, the obviously one of my wheelhouses of things I collect, the Cobra Cyborg. So I found that on eBay. It was really, like I said, really cheap and mint in box and all that stuff. So I picked that up.
Okay.
I won't even bother sending you the picture, but I am turning into somewhat of a bat completist, minus the original like 1984 G.I. Joe figure, which maybe I'll try to buy a Lucy one of these days, but I can never afford a mint on card, you know? One day. The last thing I'll say before I throw it back over to you is this is not for me. This is a gift ski for my buddy Rob. Rob is the guy who travels out to AIW and Toyhio with me. And sometimes maybe helps me out when I think I lost a contact lens in my eye. But Rob is an optometrist, and one of his favorite things to collect when it comes to figures, because we all have the things that we collect, but he likes translucent figures. You know, like whether it's like clear or kind of clear or whatever. But I don't know how I stumbled upon it, but on eBay, I found at 2002 Wizard World Chicago, back when Wizard World used to do their own cons, Palisades Toys had the Muppets license, and they came out with a con exclusive Beaker figure that is him where he accidentally spilled vanishing cream on himself. So the figure is slowly like fading away. I'm going to send you the picture because it's kind of cool.
Oh, that sounds pretty cool.
Yeah, and it's like Beaker with like a panicked look on his face as he's starting to disappear. And I was like, holy shit, that's like a perfect thing. And Rob, don't listen to this show. He doesn't know what a podcast is. So I can say it. But I'm going to give that to him either for Christmas or as like a thank you for like the free optometry work that he's done for me over the last couple weeks, you know?
Sure.
But let me send that to you. Check it out.
Yep. Let me Oh, okay. Yeah, that's really cool.
Yeah, I figure that fits his wheelhouse of his collection, you know?
Sure.
All right, Joe, what else did you get?
Well, Adam, very soon, and I say very soon, about 2 months from today, it's going to feel very good to be All Elite. Because I purchased tickets to go see AEW Dynamite in Philly on September 28th.
Oh, okay. You going with Brett and DJ on that?
Yeah, DJ is part of the Elite Fleet, where they get a day early order on the pre-orders for the tickets. And he's getting the same seats, like literally the same seats that they had last time. And he's like, I'm on there right now. Do you want one? And I'm like, yes, I do. And I went ahead. I got the day off of work. And yeah, it'll be this will be the first indoor wrestling thing that I go to that I'm not a part of, that I've gone to since like Royal Rumble and NXT TakeOver were in Philly, however many years ago that was.
Yeah. Huh. I'm just sitting here. I'm taking a look at my phone actually right now as you're talking. I mean, my notifications seem to be working. My volume's turned up. I'm just curious. I must have missed that message, you know. But congrats, man. That sounds like it's a really good time. I'm envious. I'm gonna, you know, enjoy watching it on television from at home, you know, by myself. But that's cool. But yeah, it sounds like a good time. That's cool that they're gonna be in Philly. I hope something awesome happens and it's not like 7 hours of TV tapings that you're regretting, you know?
Well, I was joking and fingers crossed and hoping and praying that when they announced the trios tag title tournaments, that they would do the finals in Philly.
Yeah, well, I'm sure it'll happen because I won't be there. You know. All right, a couple other quick things and we're done, Joe. This past week was San Diego Comic-Con, as we talked about in great detail. Let's talk about the fruits of our labors.
Okay.
And that is that at least I was successful in acquiring two no holds barred ultimates of Rip and Zeus.
Yep, I did not. I tried to get in and I failed.
Yeah, but it has a good happy ending because everybody that's in the soon to be named network doll dork little common what am I trying to say? DMs, whatever. Everybody who wanted one got one. You know, so that works out, and my extra one is very flippable at this point. So I'm happy to have gotten two of those, and I guess I'm looking at like eBay, and they're going for a pretty penny. So I'm happy that I got a spare. But I did offer you one. You turned it down, so full disclosure.
As we discussed last week, you know, as I planned, and I'm like, do I really want one? I don't really want one, but I'm definitely going to try to get the two. You know, if I get it, great. If I get two, then I could flip one to a friend to help them out. And I didn't get it, but everyone got two to help out the people that were looking for one.
Yep. Yeah. And like I said, if somebody else in our small group needed one, I would have taken care of them, but I'm not like good brother and strangers, you know? So
exactly.
I'll use this as an opportunity, but yeah, I'm happy that worked out, that I got one of those. Also from Mattel Creations and another purchase that I made. I don't have the Nightmare Narcotic, Joe, but I might have like the Ultimate Narcotic, and I had to buy or pre-order the Cody Rhodes Ultimate from Mattel Creations.
Shameful.
Now, the only question is, do I need, at this point, the Supreme? Because I kind of don't think I need it, but at the same time, like, I pre-ordered Supreme Series 2, which is Omega and Malachi, and I kind of still want the Supreme Britt Baker from Series 1. So what am I going to just be missing that Cody? Like, that's going to kind of feel weird. So I don't know. I don't need the Cody Supreme, but I kind of want to keep it just so I can have symmetry in my collection. I don't know. Am I crazy?
Yes.
I'm crazy, but all right. But should I keep it? Because I feel
I
like
think you shouldn't have any Codys in your collection, but that's just me.
That is also true. But am I wrong in the fact that like if I get rid of that, I'm going to have this glaring hole and I'm just going to want to like replace it down the road? And then pay like a premium? I don't know. More on this as it develops, I guess. Because here's the thing, I don't want to buy Series 3, which is the Lucha Bros. I want to just be like, all right, I own the first two series, and I will address each future series as it comes up, but I don't need to be a completist beyond the first two, you know? But I'm like, I kind of need the first two in order to walk away, you know?
I say just walk away. But it's easy for me. I don't have what you have regarding these figures and the mindset and everything else like that, you know?
Yeah, I am slightly more crazy than the next person, just slightly. But
Right.
I don't. All right, like I said, I'll figure that out. I'm sure I have a couple more, like another month or two before the Supreme Series 1 hits the stores. So, one other San Diego Comic-Con thing, and then we can wrap this up. Speaking of Super Sevens, Joe, they had a Cobra recruitment center at San Diego Comic-Con. Did you see anything about this?
I don't know if we talked about it here or if I talked about it on Longbox Heroes, but go ahead.
Yeah, so basically San Diego Super 7, they had a bunch of figures that they weren't going to sell online, and this pissed me off because one of them I wanted, and that was the Super 7 Ultimate Edition Cobra Bat, which in addition to being a repaint of the Cobra Bat that's coming out any day now in their main line, it had a bunch of extra accessories that weren't in the standard figure. So I was like, oh man, I need that, you know? And Super 7 said, hey, after the con, we're going to put a select figures up on our website of whatever didn't sell out at the con. But from everything I read, the recruitment center thing was such a hit of a gimmick, which was basically you go up to their tent, and much like how the army has like recruitment things, you would go to basically enlist in Cobra.
Oh, that's pretty good.
Yeah, and they would give you this like coin that's like a pledge coin, or like, what do they call them? Like I don't know, like a coin that said you have what it takes, and it had an address for a pop-up store in San Diego that you would go to after the con was over, and you would get that Cobra Bat. And I guess they sold out at the event, and I was like, oh fuck, I needed that. And it was one of the only like San Diego Comic-Con things that didn't go up like online. So I ended up buying that on eBay. I was watching them, and it was one of the things where it was like they were not coming down. A lot of stuff that was a San Diego Comic-Con exclusive, like the first people that got them like gouged the price, but as more and more people put them up, the price was kind of coming down. But it wasn't the case with this bat. It was like every single time one was listed, it sold immediately, and then the next one would just be up for more and more money. So I was like, oh man, I need to jump on this. So I bought it. It was one of those things where I was like, I didn't want to have to buy it for like double, like 3 months from now. So that is my like one big like hard to get San Diego exclusive, you know?
For sure.
But I think that's it, Joe. I'm just checking my notes here. I think that's it. I don't think I forgot anything else. Oh, wait. I have one other thing, Joe.
Uh-oh.
Joe, what's my name, Joe?
Adam.
That's my government name. What's my my gimmick name?
Fake Artie.
What's my other gimmick name?
The $100 Vansky.
That's right, Joe. And the $100 Vansky, the figures will be bought, Joe. I don't care if you're a San Diego Comic-Con exclusive. I don't care if you're limited to 1,000. I don't care if you had a stupid convoluted reveal. But the $100 Vansky, if he wants a 1 of 1,000 San Diego Comic-Con exclusive Brody Lee figure, he'll fucking buy a 1 of 1,000 San Diego Comic-Con exclusive Brody Lee figure. So my final purchase, Joe, is I bought one.
Off eBay?
Off of eBay.
How was the price? Okay, or
let me just put it to you this way. It was not as expensive as I thought it was going to be. All right, when they announced that this was going to be show only and that there was only going to be 1,000 of them, and you had to like win like a freaking like raffle to get a chance at buying it, I thought that this was going to be ridiculous. I paid slightly more than I paid for my Brody Lee 1 of 3,000 chase. However, I did kind of fuck myself because I bought it, and then like a day or two later, they were like maybe $30, $40, maybe $30 less expensive. So if I waited a day or maybe 2 days, I would have saved $30. If you listen to the Major Pod this week, Brian Myers is like, oh, they're like $120 on eBay. No, they're not. They're more expensive than that, but they are less expensive than I thought they were going to be. And like I said, I worked myself into a shoot by pulling the trigger on the day that I did. But when I got it, it's super mint. They did say on Major Pod that a lot of them were damaged, and I did see that in my eBay
they had like
searches.
a weird little they looked at like 3 or 4 of them, and they all had like the same little weird crease on them.
Yeah, like I've seen that crease. You can kind of slightly see it on mine, but it's not bad, and it. If I had 100 of them and I could pick the best one, I wouldn't have picked this one. But like, it's in nice enough shape where I'm happy with it. You know, it presents really well. You have to be real nitpicky to complain about this, and I'm not going to be nitpicky. You know,
I know how that is.
Yeah, but I added that to my collection. Hopefully, when this suited Brody comes out in a couple unrivaled series from now, hopefully that does not get the chase. However, I am not confident because it is very easy to just come out with a different suit color, you know, but as of right now, I got all the big boys. And that's my final purchase, Joe.
If I knew ahead of time, I could have threw in there the all heat, no heaters sting for that, right?
Well, no, nothing to be mad about. Like I said, if I overpaid for it, that's my own fault for being impulsive. But if you look at the Cobra bat, I said to myself, all right, I'm not going to do the same mistake, and I'm going to wait on the Cobra bat and wait a couple days because, like I said, if I waited another day, I would have saved like $30 on the Brody. But every time I waited, that Cobra bat got more and more and more expensive, and I was like, oh, shit, I got to pull the trigger. So you win some, you lose some, you know?
Yeah. But I'm glad you got it. You know, obviously, you're more of a completist than I am for that sort of thing. I got to be a little bit more selective with my above $100 purchases, you know?
Yeah. And I'm just shooting you a picture. It does fit in a Defender. It's pretty cool.
Oh, you already have it. That's awesome.
Yeah, I ordered it. I want to say like San Diego was still going on when I bought it. So I don't know if it was like Saturday. But yeah, I bought it and the guy shipped it on Monday and it actually arrived today.
I know Brian was saying that it was it just barely fit into a Defender.
Yeah, it wasn't tight enough that I was scared, but you had to make sure you were going in the right, because I know, you know, have you ever put an AEW fig in a Defender? You kind of have to put the face of it in first.
The face?
The face. Yeah. You got to put the front of the figure into the Defender before you close the back. And you just had to kind of make sure you were doing it straight because there wasn't extra room, but it wasn't in there so tight that it was like, oh my God, this is going to ruin the figure, you know?
Gotcha.
But it's really cool. I'll tweet out some pictures of it tomorrow, you know, if anybody feels surprised by my little bit, you know, don't want to ruin it. But yeah, I'm happy to have it, you know?
For sure.
And I was, this is a real quick story and we'll go home. I was telling my mom, I was over my mom's house the other day, and I had actually said to her that like I was trying to buy this figure, and you know, just as something to talk about, and I was just trying to explain who Brody Lee was, you know, and just kind of like a little bit about like, you know, this is a guy who maybe was underutilized in WWE and he came to AEW and they realized, you know, kind of what they had and they used him properly. And then obviously he was taken away too soon. And I told her about -1. And my mom, just based on that, is the biggest Brody Lee fan on the planet. You know, I told her a little bit, and she was like, you need to buy that figure. And I showed her like a video of like -1 being like carried away by Preston Vance when Brody wants to like kick the crap out of somebody. And her heart melted for like Brody Lee and Brody Lee Jr. So he has a new fan in my mom. So
that's fantastic.
Yeah. So she enabled that purchase. But that's it for me, Joe.
All right. Well, everyone, I think I might be able to speed up the show a little bit to get it under that 2.5 hours that I said at the top of the show. Technical issues and bathroom breaks notwithstanding. Again, thanks everyone for listening. See a lot of you this Saturday in Jefferson, Ohio / Ashtabula County Fairgrounds for the big wrestling show. Come say hi. Don't be strangers. People are strange. We're strange. Everything else like that, we're outdoors. It'll be cool. But regardless, for Adam, this is Joe saying be safe out there and enjoy some wrestling.
listening to the soon-to-be named network, the Lamborghini of podcast networks.